I'm not gonna lie, this week was a bit of a tough week for us, the electric car fans, but that's okay. Because Tesla Roadster showed up here in the Bay Area, kind of unannounced, but that's okay, we weren't expecting it. Showed up at the Tesla headquarters and then here at the factory testing track. Now, nothing spectacular happened per se, nothing was unveiled, there was nothing that was leaked, but it kind of reminded us where we're at and how far we came and how the bright the future is. And so this is the car testing at the headquarters, not the headquarters, the factory. I'm already messing up. So you know how this is gonna go, right? But here I have a video. It's shot vertically by the guy who actually was gracious enough to let me use the video. As you can see, this is behind the factory where they have the track. This is usually where those cars line up and it takes off. Of course, this totally freaked this kids out. I mean, you'll see them like at the end of the video, they just jump from like completely unbelief. Yeah, I didn't want to include the audio in this one. It was kind of all kinds of F-bombs there. And this is the Roadster also this week at the Palo Alto headquarters for their employees to check it out, because a lot of them weren't able to check it out because the unveiling was in Hawthorne, California, in Southern California for the semi-truck event. So that's that was a that was a highlight. That was definitely a highlight. I don't know where it's gonna go next. It's kind of on tour. It's kind of funny, right? That this Roadster is on tour here in California. The other Roadster is on tour in space. So that's, I'll take that. So by the way, yesterday they were supposed to launch Falcon 9 and a couple of satellites. I covered that story early in the week, but unfortunately, I guess they were doing some last-minute checks and they wanted to take a little bit more time, so they're delaying it for a while. But nevertheless, they're planning to launch a couple of satellites to test if they can start providing broadband internet. We don't know for whom. Obviously, everyone's hoping that is going to be for Tesla fleet, but maybe also just Tesla gonna have its own internet service because they don't have enough things going on. Brian in the chat room says Florida here. How are you? I bet the weather there is just as nice as it is here. It's a little cold though. He says, I bet most people don't know the electric vehicle life. People don't. I think this is the things that I keep repeating over and over again, because a lot of times we have this news and we're not as excited sometimes when news comes out, but then we don't realize that these news, they matter, because that means more and more people learn about Tesla and electric cars. Roadster in space, we had a big debate back and forth, right? Could have been something else that was launched, and why Roadster, what's a big deal? But this is really the first time people saw an electric car, even in a picture, found out about electric cars, found out about Tesla. It was a great publicity for Tesla and electric cars in general, because most people really don't know. And I don't mean just like in third world countries. I mean like here in the United States and a lot of people in Europe and so forth. We are nowhere near to be sort of a household name. People still definitely either don't know about it because they had other things going on, or they just don't care about it for now because they don't know how awesome these things are, or sometimes they believe it's just too expensive and out of reach for them, which in some cases is true. Sunset Lights 100, who is just about to get banned if he doesn't explain why he says SpaceX equals fake X. Now, this is something we covered. A lot of non-believers believing that this was a fake launch. It was all about the green screen. They were talking about why aren't the asteroids and stars are being reflected on the hood. The explanation was very easy, something that a fifth grader probably who didn't cut physics classes could have explained. But now that astronomers are confirming, and NASA astronomers confirming that they indeed are tracking the damn thing. So Elon literally just tweeted about a few minutes ago. I guess there's a site about, let me see what the site is, but basically you can track the Roadster. Where is roadster.com, so you can figure out where it is. But so feel free to explain, of course. I mean, we welcome all opinions, like, as long as they're respectful and as long as you guys are making sense. You can't just say it's fake. We also talked about SpaceX using taxpayer money. We can talk about it again if you want, but I think we kind of over it. Technocato, welcome, says hello from Puerto Rico. The Roadster was there to remind we need to to place the deposit soon. Yeah, if you can afford it, I can't. I'm definitely not going to get in. To be honest with you, I'm not really into sports cars per se. I'm a four-door sedan kind of guy, so I got my car. So that's oh yeah, so of course, please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you're enjoying it. If you're enjoying my channel, it usually makes the video go further and be available for more people. Of course, I appreciate it. Physics says 5th grade, lol, nice. Well, listen, I don't mind the debate, but if you guys are, if people are going to be saying things that really are don't make sense, and even a child can really explain to you why you're wrong, you probably shouldn't be saying it. My girlfriend says howdy. She is just about to see a movie. So yeah, apparently this wasn't a good enough show for her. She's just gonna see a movie in, I believe, in an hour or so. Good to see her anyway. I watched those flat earth videos last week, says Ben. I have an open mind, but their theories are unbelievable. I gotta tell you, I have an open mind too, but my mind is not very open to the shape of our planet. I kind of think that jury is kind of back in on this one, and I'm just gonna have it as just common knowledge at this point. All right, so guys, let's dive into some other news, of course. Now, this one wasn't that bad. This was a Rimac Concept 2. It's not gonna be called Concept 2, but we're calling it Concept 2 because their first car was Concept 1. So they're gearing up to unveil it at the Geneva show, and they showed us a little bit of a teaser. I freeze-framed this a moment because it was basically the best view of the car. I photoshopped it a little bit so we get better view of it. Looks pretty cool. Looks somebody said, I mean, it reminds me of Gecko, right? Like the little lizard that's smiling at you. I think it's pretty cute, so I like it, but it looks also a little mean, so that's fine. So as you know, it's a Croatian company, and they made 8 of the Concept 1 Roadsters and Concept 1 cars, whatever you want to call it, supercars. And it was really, you know, it was a breakthrough. It was an amazing car. Now, Rimac is a company that actually makes batteries. I don't think people really know that that's their day job, right? That's actually how they make money. They make batteries for other exotic and supercars, so that's their main business. They produce their own car that was, you know, made a big splash. That was an impressive car. Now they're just about to unveil their second one. Now, they made 8 of the first the Concept 1. They're gonna make 100 of these over the next few years. I believe they're gonna make 20 in the first year of production, and they're gonna start, I believe, by the end of the year. So now some of the specs are leaking out, or being leaked out, I guess. And it's pretty impressive. So the previous version had a 90 kilowatt-hour battery. This one will have 120, but that means it won't really be able to compete with the Tesla Roadster, because Tesla Roadster is gonna have 200 kilowatt-hour battery. Obviously, do under 2 seconds, 0 to 60. I don't think this car will be able to do that. I believe the Concept 1, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, because you're really good at that. 2.5 was a 2.5 seconds, 0 to 60 for Concept 1. And then this is kind of surprising. They said they're going to have a level 4 autonomy in their car. First of all, that's pretty cool, because I mean, let's, you know, yet another car maker jumping into self-driving technology. Definitely excited about that. But I guess it's almost like, it's a little weird. Like, it's almost like having a minivan have a manual gearbox, right? Why? Because, you know, when you buy this car, I'm assuming you actually want to drive it yourself. Kind of, it's a driver's car, right? You want to race it, you want to take it out and drive it. Not really sure if you would take them on long trips or be stuck in traffic in it, where you just say, oh, I don't want to drive this car. Let the Autopilot take over. But nevertheless, looking forward to it. Very exciting, definitely. Definitely want to see what it turns out. Only less than a month to wait for us. So at the Geneva Auto Show. Physics says, going back to the flat earthers conversation, I can't believe we're having it in 2018. People say the earth is flat. All I can say is go out and test that theory, as it's easy to prove it isn't flat. Don't use other people's evidence. Yeah, it's kind of, yeah, you just kind of walk, and then once you end up in the same place, you know, you might swim a little as well. Then, you know, DRK says, I love the Roadster, but then again, I love going fast. Yeah, you know, and that video, I mean, you could see once again how fast the damn thing goes, right? I mean, it's unbelievable. Now, they said, I believe it was Valentine's Day when they caught it, because I talked to the guy who shot it, and I think it was Valentine's Day. I don't know how long they've tested it, and now I'm even wondering if they, look at that. Look at that. I mean, how unbelievable is that? When I saw this in person, right, at the unveiling, I really couldn't believe my eyes, because I was like, how is, like, what you understand about moving objects that are cars specifically didn't really calculate in my brain correctly when I saw that in person, you know? Yeah, when you see it on camera, it's kind of, you know, you know, the car's being kept in the shot, so it's really, you know, it's kind of tough to, you know, even see the beauty of it. And I don't mean to like say that these videos don't give it justice, but I think they kind of don't. It was absolutely amazing to see it in person. If you guys ever have a chance, definitely check it out. So it's yeah, I mean, definitely an amazing display of electric car power and technology in general. Could the Model Y be built on the Roadsters, asks Peter in the chat room. No. I will probably have to have like 2 or 3 Roadsters to build on top of that. No, seriously, Model Y is going to be built on top of the Model 3 because that's just makes sense. It's going to be a compact SUV. It's going to and you know, at first they were going to say they were going to build it kind of from scratch. They said they're going to go back and build it on top of Model 3, which I thought was a great idea. Everybody thought was a good idea because, you know, you had such a tough production ramp. You put so much effort and money into it. Why not use it? Because the other car is just going to be a little bit taller, right? And really just have a different design, and that's pretty much it. So now I think they're backing away from it. They're saying they're going to have some of the things redesigned, and not necessarily for the benefit of the car, but I think for the benefit of building the car even faster. I believe they want to lose the 9-volt battery and going to do some other cool things with wiring. Now there was a story coming out earlier this week that one of the German automakers, that we don't know who that is, you know, bought the Model 3, took it apart, and they were very impressed about how not so much the engineering of the car, but they were impressed with that, I guess, but also how it was engineered, right? So yeah, it's going to be based on a Model 3. The only problem is, and I guess it brings me to the story that I wasn't gonna really talk about until later in the show, but let me find it really quick, because you know, it was kind of an assumption that Tesla was going to build a factory in China where Model Y was going to be made. And as you know, in China, the problem is you can't just come in and set up and build a factory. Chinese law does not allow for that. If you want to do business, if you want to manufacture something in China, you have to partner up with a Chinese-based company, share trade secrets with them, obviously, and that's how you can make a lot of things, including cars. And a lot of manufacturers kind of give in and do that. But Tesla apparently last year looked like they struck a deal with Chinese government where they could just own that factory on their own and move forward. Well, now there are reports coming out that I guess China is backing out of that, and Tesla is having a hard time actually getting started on that. Obviously, I'm going to assume a lot of other car manufacturers had something to do with it, probably lobbied, and I'm not even surprised that, hey, you know, it would definitely put Tesla once again in advantage, but that's where Model Y was supposed to be made. So we'll see what happens with that. If not, I'm assuming the next location they might pick would be in Europe. But yeah, this is I think this is the biggest problem right now with what's going to happen with Model Y. It's tough to predict because they need another factory. Here in Fremont, there's just no way in hell. Now, it's possible, you know, because the Gigafactory in Nevada is not fully operational yet, that they might set up there as well, and maybe think about building another factory for batteries. You know, they do have Buffalo, but I mean, these are all speculations. I don't want to say in any way that's even something that's coming up for Tesla. This is just something that I think is one of the possibilities. Technocata says, by the way, Tesla Roadster Founders Edition is still open. Guess some are either still skeptical or putting down $250,000 is way too much without any gain for 2 to 3 years. Yeah, yeah, it is still open. If you guys like, you can put $250,000 for a car you won't get in 2 or 3 years. I'm actually surprised. You know, I'm actually, you know, if Rimac can sell these cars, I mean, not a large amount, but you know, there's over $1 million. Then why not, you know, this amazing Tesla car? I'm sure there are a few millionaires around here that can probably afford it. But yeah, it's still open, guys. So go ahead. You know, don't forget to use my referral code. I don't think it's going to give you any discounts. By the way, guys, let me just, I almost forgot that this show and this channel is sponsored by Evanex, the aftermarket accessories for Tesla that I'm personally a fan of and a customer if you want to be as well. They give us our own code, discount code for this community. You can find it in the description of this video. And you know what? Another thing you're going to find in the description of this video, let me just find the video, and this is me behind the wheel of the semi-truck at the unveiling event. But guess what? Everybody now has a chance to win, not a trip. I think the trip you have to pay for yourself, but a chance to go to Hawthorne, California and race the semi around on their private track. There's some questions about whether, you know, or not you need to have special license. I think because it's private property and closed course, it's going to be okay, but I'm sure we can figure it out. But here's how you do it. This is how you enter it. I have my referral code in the description of this video. If you click on it, you don't have to buy a car. All you have to do is submit your email address because you're just going to sign up for Tesla newsletter, which you kind of probably should be. You know, if you don't like it, you can subscribe some point in the future. But for now, when you do that, you enter yourself and myself together in this drawing that they do every week, and we can win this experience and drive the Tesla Semi. Of course, I really want to do it because I can feature it for the rest of you guys here in our community, so we can all share the experience, maybe even stream live from the track. So please go ahead and take a second. Again, it's my referral code for Tesla in the description of the video, so we can all win this, because if we do, this is gonna hopefully benefit the whole community. Let me go back in the chat room, guys, and say hi to a few people. Justin is from Norway. Welcome to the show, of course. Ben in the chat room says, I thought that the Model Y was based on the Model 3. Am I wrong about this? Well, we just talked about it, Ben. So no, you're not, but just a little bit now, as I was as well. So originally they weren't going to do it. Then they were going to do it fully, just completely same architecture. But now they're going to say, well, yes, it's going to be based on Model 3, but we actually going to update some things, how things work, how the car's wired, and I'm trying to get away from the 12 volt battery. Sorry, 12 volt battery. Let's see, let me just scroll down the chat room. You guys type fast. By the way, if you want to get my attention in the chat room so I can easier answer your questions, if you type at E4Electric, my handle, then it highlights it here on my screen, so I can kind of go into your question. Brian in chat room says, let's see, keep Fisker out of this, lol. I guess you guys are talking about oh, I see, yes, it is a beautiful as Fisker Karma, says Ben in the chat room. Now Fisker Karma was a pretty beautiful car, I think. Well, still is. I can still see them driving around here in the Bay Area. I think the new emotion from Fisker, from the new Fisker Inc., not the Fisker Automotive, is even more beautiful. I absolutely love the way it looks. Not a big fan about all its doors opening in different, you know, places, but I really like the slick look that they came up with. Ari says, Tesla has sold a lot of Roadsters and maybe more than anything else like it. They just have a large number available, 1,000, right? Well, they only sold 2,500 of the original Roadsters, and I really don't know what the production run is going to be for this one. It's probably going to be, you know, a few thousand, depending on demand. But if, you know, if there's still reservations left for the Founder series, then yeah, maybe the demand is not that high for this car, at least at this point. I'm sure they'll figure it out, but it's not going to be, you know, 5,000 a week for sure. I can guarantee you that, right? I can't wait till you do some donuts in the semi, says Ben. Well, we gotta win first, right? But yes, we'll see what we can do. I'm sure they'll be perfectly fine with that for us to do donuts in the semi. But that would be kind of cool. I wonder if they're actually gonna have a trailer on the back. I bet the trailer is not gonna be there, so it's gonna be a little bit easier, right? DRK in the chat room says, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button. That helps the video. Absolutely. You know, I love you guys to do this so much that I even created a separate graphics for it. So if you don't mind, if you don't do anything, if you're just kind of chilling and watching the video, please hit the thumbs up, because that helps the video as usual. Now, let me move on to the next story, which I kind of lost track of. All right, the BMW is actually our next story. A lot of people joining right now. Come to the Caribbean, Jamaica, says hi from Sweden. Wait a second, man. You're confusing me. Are you from Jamaica or are you from Sweden? What is it? I'm going to assume you're running a travel agency, right? But anyway, cool username. And of course, welcomes from Sweden. I'm assuming it's early evening in there, right? Here we have a 3-day weekend, by the way, in the United States. Monday, which is tomorrow, is President's Day. And so apparently we don't go to work, just like our president, really to celebrate it. So we have a 3-day weekend. Ari says the 1,000 was for the founders, I think. Yeah, I think they are just making 1,000 for the founders, but are obviously going to make more, and I don't know what the run is going to be. Still, 1,000 is not that many. I actually would have thought they already kind of got that reserve, but you know, it is weird that you kind of have to put up pretty much the whole amount, right, rather than the actual down payment for the car. But I understand why they're doing it. Let's see. Have you heard about new Zoe in 6 months or the new upgrades? Asks Nigel. No, I have not heard anything. I will try to check it out. You know, we haven't heard much from Renault about the car. I can't imagine they're not working on some sort of a refresh or an upgrade, because, you know, it's been a pretty popular car, well sold in Europe. So for those of you guys who own it, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think everybody who owns it really likes it. And the whole battery releasing thing that I'm very jealous of is also something that you guys enjoy, which is great. Gabriel Pop in the chat room says Fisker is a car made by a designer. Tesla is made by a computer geek. That's true. Henrik Fisker is a designer who used to work for BMW and I think Alfa Romeo, and of course now for his own second company. Nigel says Donald never worked. Well, careful now. Careful now. I know I started it. I know I started. Forget I said that. No politics in the chat room, because everyone's going to be in the fight in another 10 minutes. And we're never going to be able to get to any of this electric car stories, right? 8:24 p.m. here in Sweden, says Anton. You know, I gotta visit one of these days. I really gotta visit. I know it's pretty cold, and I'm originally from Russia, so this is why I live in California. I never really want to see snow or be cold. But I really would love to see Sweden and Norway. Just everybody who visits has always had such great impressions, and just even pictures that I see of those of my friends who visit, they always have nothing but great things to say. So one day. I'm actually not big on flying planes. Like, actually, I'm scared like a child, literally, when I fly. So I barely make it to LA and Las Vegas, which is only a 1 hour away by a plane. But I'm trying. I'm going to try to do that. Come to the Caribbean. Jamaica says, I was born in Jamaica, but now I live in Sweden. And to confuse you some more, I am an American citizen. I am totally confused, but it totally makes sense. My girlfriend's roots are from Jamaica as well. Though we probably should do one. What is it called? 123andMe. Which, by the way, I just realized 123andMe, that the company that tells you, like, you can do like a swab and send it to them. It'll tell you where your origins are and also what you're gonna die from. Actually, their headquarters is right down the street. I just realized. I guess everyone's headquarters are down the street here, but most importantly, it's Tesla's headquarters down the street. So, and European citizens come to the Caribbean, Jamaica, says. He's a cartoon character, says Nigel. Agent RR, I haven't seen you here in a while. So thank you for joining us again. Brooklyn in the house. I am Kate. Oh, I'm sorry. I see, a lot of times I think this is guys mainly here, right? Because I look at statistics on my channel, it's 96% of guys, but I know DRK is a woman, and Agent RR, Kate. All right. Zoe has no space, says Brian. Well, depends on what you're doing, right? Depends on what you're doing in your car. Come to Ireland, says Nigel. You know, once I come to Europe, I want to visit all countries, because it's going to be a long flight and it's going to be really stressful. So yeah. Agent RR says, Alex, I bumped into a new Model 3 owner around my home and I like what I see. Well, let me know what you liked about, well, did you bump into the owner or into his car as well? Let me know. And let me, if you have, Let me know what you thought. I actually had my own what is it, run-in with a Model 3. Actually, let me do that story then. So this is the at the Mountain View supercharger yesterday. The guy you see in front, he's a co-host of a popular car and bike show, the biggest car show in India on New Delhi TV. They were here. They just actually flew to Detroit today, just doing a lot of different stories on electric cars. They interviewed me for the show, so if I don't get cut out of the segment like I did with the Russian TV, I will definitely bring it to you guys, but they were filming this segment. By the way, if you want to see kind of a quick behind the scenes stuff that I did with them yesterday, you can go to my Patreon page, and this is why I really appreciate you guys, my Patreons, because you support the show, and I try to do as much as I can as far as behind the scene footage and some exclusive footage. So that's posted on there, but it was pretty cool. They were here, and as you can see, there's a Model 3 in the background. At this point, we're just looking at that Model X, amazing dents, which I love, which, by the way, the owner of the car didn't even know it had. You know, I just love telling people about their cars that they've had for a while. Say, you know, your car can do this. You know, you paid for it. You might as well enjoy it. So this was the first time they saw their car dance. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, so Miguel, one of the members of my Facebook group for Model 3 and Model S owners, was kind enough to bring his brand new Model 3. They checked it out. I believe this is the first Model 3 that's going to be shown on Indian TV. So that was exciting. And yeah, I got to kind of chill in the car once again. Don't forget, the first time I was in a Model 3 was in August. But I couldn't show it to you guys. As a matter of fact, I had the video out and I had to remove it. But my first run-in with the Model 3 was back in August. But yes, everybody who does, I mean, it's very impressive. There are a few things, I mean, I still don't like about it, obviously, like door handles. But it is absolutely amazing car, especially for the money you're going to pay. And I love the way it looks. I know some people are not crazy specifically about the way it looks, but I absolutely love it. The back, the front, I think it's just, I like all three. I think I'm one of the few people who likes the Model S, the Model X, even though I'm not really a big fan of SUVs, and I do love the way the Model 3 looks as well. Anton says, come in the summer. Here in the north, it's daylight outside at midnight during peak of summer and usually between 20 and 30 degrees Celsius, which is not bad actually. Right now, it's like barely 20 right now here. It is February. Stephen Barr says 23andMe. That's right. 23andMe is that service call where you can send them stuff and they'll tell you everything about yourself. It's kind of weird because I just saw their logo yesterday because I parked in front of the building and I saw, oh my God, their headquarters. Yeah, so yeah, definitely, Anton, that's pretty cool that you guys the daylight sometimes goes all the way into the midnight. I'm a night owl, right? So I hang out until about 3 o'clock in the morning and I wake up at 9 barely, get ready for the show and do the show. That's why a lot of times when you guys see me do my show, I have like watery eyes because, you know, I barely wake up, right? Like I'm still sleepy and then I jam my contact lenses in there. So people go like, are you high? How are you high in the morning? Which by the way is completely legal now in California. I don't get high. I just don't get enough sleep. So that's why I have like a reddish, teary eyes sometimes, maybe even right now, do I? I have seen the BMW concept in Frankfurt, says Gabriel Pop. It looks very good, but it's just a concept. Yeah, a lot of, most concepts look very good and then they change them around. Though Tesla has done a pretty good job, right? Most of their concepts have been pretty much like 90% what the production was going to look like, even with the Model S. I don't know if you've ever seen the early Model S concepts. It was a little bit more rounder, right? Like they made it a little bit more mean, which is, I mean it in a good way. So that's something that, oh, so D-Block 5566 is all right. That's right, because I was like, why are you guys talking about the next story that I was gonna put up? But yeah, let me go back. DB Block 5566 says, I think BMW signed a 10-year contract with Galaxy Resources for lithium supply. Yeah, so that was my next story, right? So BMW is not really good at, you know, it doesn't seem like they're very excited about electric cars. There is another BMW story I'm going to do a little bit later. But you know, I always quote the Fred from the guy who runs Electrek.co, and he believes and totally agree that you know how serious a manufacturer is about making electric cars is by how far their supply chain management goes deep into the battery making of lithium-ion batteries. So BMW, I don't know, maybe they've already signed it, but you know, it's kind of hard to say when it's actually done unless they announce it. So maybe you're kind of ahead of me, DB Block 5566. But they're definitely exploring making sure that the supply chain goes all the way to the mines, right? This is something Tesla was doing a couple of weeks ago. They were visiting Chile, one of the countries that produces most of the lithium, and they're really trying to actually maybe even build or co-own a factory or mining facility there, so they make sure that there's enough lithium that they can produce. By the way, lithium is not exactly, the lithium-ion battery have very little lithium in it. There's also cobalt, and I think in this deal, BMW is also seeking cobalt resources as well. And there are, I think, 2 or 3 other components. They're not as rare. Well, not that lithium is rare, but, and we had this conversation before, it does look like there's enough of lithium resources in the world right now to satisfy all of the demand. What is tough to do is actually mine it quick enough and have factories that will produce the batteries. So that probably will be a bottleneck for at some point, but there will be enough resources. And of course, it looks like they're going to be going to the solid state batteries or some other technology that will render lithium-ion batteries obsolete. So we'll see what develops, but you know, BMW is making a major step towards that, and therefore it looks like they're, you know, all in the game. They're just a little behind. Sorry guys, I don't know if I'm starting to lose my voice a little early today, because that's where the show ends, right? When I lose my voice. Ari in the chat room says, I'm not a big fan of flying. Neither am I. I'm not scared, but the regulations and stipulations are just ridiculous. Can't bring toothpaste, water, juice, and the poor treatment airlines have given. Agree with all of that, but actually, you know what I've just applied to? So this is in the United States. I don't know if it's available for people around the world, but here I applied. It's called Global Entry. So you kind of go through this, you know, you apply, like literally like when you're applying for a job, they give you like, you have to give them your history of where you lived, and no, not even a job, like a credit card, really, where you lived, where you worked for like the last 5 years. And then once they approve your application, you have to show up at a designated airport. They have an interview with you. There's a 4 months wait right now. I have 2 more months to wait. But once you do that, once you get that thing, it also includes TSA check, which you can get separately. It's only $100 for 5 years. But if you get that, you can bypass the line where everybody kind of searches you. You have to take your shoes off, at least here in the United States, and your belt, and you have to put the belt on. So you can go right through the TSA check or whatever, Global Entry. And when you're actually traveling between countries, it also makes it much easier for you. So look into that. But I'm afraid of flying for no other reason, because I'm afraid of flying for, it's absolutely illogical, but I've tried many times, and unfortunately I still need to keep trying to get better at it. A lot of people hate flying, says Ben. Yes, but I think people hate flying a lot of times by what Ari says, right? Is because, you know, it's inconvenient, airlines treat you like crap, it's small seats, it's you know, it's a long wait, and they cancel flights and they lose your baggage, and you know, so yeah. 23andMe says Brian, Silicon Valley. Yeah, I'm here in Silicon Valley. That's where I think their headquarters are, because I ran into a humongous building that they have, and I was like, whoa, that's a big building for a small company like that. But I don't know if they have testing facilities there. Probably not. I think that's just their you know, offices. Real physics. All right, we're talking about planes. All right, fine. Let's go with this. Physics says, speak about planes. I'd like to find out any new advancements of electric planes. I believe a few companies are developing electric planes. I don't know, I forget the name of the company, but in Europe they're actually seriously developing one. I think quadcopters also is a thing where quite a few companies are developing that. That's a little different than planes, but yeah, they are making advances. There was one called the lithium jet that looked interesting, but not much on YouTube. Yeah, you know, I haven't been covering electric planes really that much. I will once it kind of becomes a thing, because a lot of them are just saying like we're investing or we're going to do that, but we don't really know much. But I know I can do a better job probably covering that for you guys, so I will look into that. Why do you have an accent, says Manav Patel? Well, because my native language is Russian, and I came here to the United States at 15 and learned English, but you don't lose an accent. But I gotta tell you, a lot of times it's not bad to have a European or Russian, Eastern European accent here, for many reasons. My girlfriend loves it, just so you know, and so that I wouldn't want to lose it. But yeah, that's why I have an accent, and that's my excuse when I when I don't say things right. Hey, English is a second language. What can you do? But I think I speak it good enough that I can conversate. So and talk to you guys over the wonders of YouTube. All right, so we covered the BMW story, but let's move on. As much as I love reading your comments, guys, I do need to move on. Quick reminder about the sponsor. Once again, Evanex Aftermarket Accessories, the discount code in the description of this video. Okay, so Model 3, back to Model 3. We can go for more than 15 minutes without talking Model 3. Of course, the car was spied with an ultra-wide interior, at least what it appeared to be. This is usually a sign that they're actually going to go ahead and if they're testing something out, that they're probably going to go ahead and implement it sometime soon. A lot of people love this, right? I mean, we've seen the video from different YouTubers, including like Tesla. I've collabed with them once and really like their channel. So they've also like spilled coffee and other stuff, and it was easy to wipe. But then Bjorn with his channel kind of did an update about, you know, how dirty they still get. And I thought they just don't get dirty, but I guess they do. It is easier to wipe them down, of course, but I don't know. It doesn't look like they're going to be staying snow white at all times. I know why I had an unrealistic expectation, but a lot of people still really like him. It does look very sharp. I mean, this is a Model X interior. It looks really sharp, so a lot of people are waiting for it. It doesn't surprise me that Tesla wants to add it. I mean, I believe it's an extra $2,500. It's hard to keep up with how Tesla charges for its options in different countries and here, because they change it all the time, but I believe it's an extra $2,500. And so that just increases their margin, of course, so that makes sense. So that's something that people were really excited about. They believe they might actually have that option sooner rather than later. But of course, guessing anything about Model 3 makes no sense, because we've been wrong almost every time. As you know, now they're gonna have a dual motor before they're going to come up with a standard range. This is something that we talked about a couple of weeks ago. A lot of people are upset about it, but it is what it is, and the same thing might happen with the these ultra-wide seats. Anton in the chat room says, I've heard that lithium is the fourth most abundant material. We just haven't had a reason to mine much of it yet. You might be right. I haven't researched it to that point. I just know there's plenty of it to satisfy what we need for many years, even if everybody switches to electric cars. But I think it's a moot point, because we're not going to be using it for too long. It really looks like lithium-ion batteries can be taken only so far. They're always going to have chemical limitations, especially with the weather and the recharging and stuff like that. Solid-state batteries, supercapacitors, and many other technologies that we maybe not even heard of are on the horizon. They're being developed, and so maybe in the next 10 years, we might actually move away from lithium-ion. So if we have enough for 10 years of ramping up, I think that's fine. Again, I think the bottleneck is going to be in actually mining it and producing the batteries out of it. And this is why Tesla, they were so smart to create their own factory, to partner with Panasonic and make sure that they control the supply chain and make sure they have enough of them, which doesn't always seem to be the case, right? They had delays with Model S and Model X because they couldn't produce them fast enough. Nigel in chat room asks, do Leafs block chargers, or do they have a few low-level chargers? I don't know what that means. Let me know if you can rephrase it so I can understand it. Probably my bet. Lithium should be enough in the oceans. I don't think they're going to be mining it from oceans. I think they're just on land mines. Volkswagen in the United Kingdom not selling their electric vehicles. Know little about them in their garage sales. Make Renault sales look like EV geeks, says Nigel in the chat room. Gabriel Pop says, no more lithium batteries for Europe. The Japanese manufacturers are on tour in Europe and canceling all the contracts. Didn't know that. He continues, says the batteries are going to China. They pay more. Really? In China, they pay more for batteries than in Europe. I'm sure there will be a little war, between different companies, because the supply will probably be a bit limited. Anton says, now you know another channel. I did 2 collabs with them and met them in person at the event. Probably one of my most favorite Tesla channels. Did a video where they said our current lithium mines can provide 170% of the lithium needed to completely convert to EVs, even if autonomy doesn't lessen the number of cars we'll need. Yeah, they did an extensive video about it, but just like I said, the numbers are really tough to know because we also haven't discovered all the mines, right? Just like we haven't even discovered all of the oil depositories in the world. So it's tough to say. I think basically the answer is we're okay. If anything, lithium is the least of our worries for now. Ben asks Nigel, but I'm kind of interested to know the answer as well. Are people boycotting Volkswagen Sweden? I personally am. I'm personally boycotting anything Volkswagen because of their controversy, not only with Dieselgate, but the animal testing. And, you know, most importantly, I mean, people make mistakes, that's fine, but their poor response to that, right? I wanted to see people fired. I wanted to see them maybe contribute to, I don't know, animal charities, animal protection charities, and they haven't really done much of that for my taste. So for now, I'm definitely boycotting them for sure. Let's see. Ali says, hi guys from Turkey. How are you? It's probably also kind of late, getting there late. I hope you had a good weekend. Just like I said, we're gonna have a Monday off here, so we're kind of in the middle of our weekends, 3-day weekend. American is an accent, English is the language, says Anton. Well, actually, American, here we kind of distinguish between accents. Like, I guess if when people speak other languages, then they distinguish between American accent and English, right? Meaning like UK versus the US accents, because I'm assuming they're different, right? Let's see. I'm just kind of looking at the comments. Fully charged, Volkswagen gray, but not a Volkswagen fan by Concepts. Not here for 3 years. Yeah, I mean, just, you know, let me know in the chat room what you guys think about Volkswagen. Do you think, in the comment section, of course, if you're looking this in the replay, if you are boycotting Volkswagen after what happened, and what do you think they need to do to kind of get on our good side after what happened? Let's see. The SpaceX satellite internet is designed to be a public subscription service and not a Tesla dedicated network, says Alan. Could be, but I mean, I would be shocked if they wouldn't be using it also for their car connections, and just Tesla customers, you know, and maybe even Solar City customers and so forth. But yeah, if I misspoke, I definitely think that if they're going to be launching this is going to be a internet for everybody at the subscription level. I'm boycotting Volkswagen and the Olympics, says David. Let me know why you're boycotting the Olympics, because I think people do it for different reasons. Next month announcements will be interesting from Tesla, says Fabio. What announcement are we waiting for? Am I behind on that one? Let me know. Smooth operator, how are you? Hope your Sunday is doing well, going well. Agent RR says, I haven't given a lot of the thoughts to your comment yesterday in regards to the Tesla owners skipping ahead. I think it should be, I'm assuming you meant you have been giving. Yeah, all right. Either way, she says, I think it should be a long line, first come first serve, but of course you need to think. Yeah, so I guess we'll jump to that story now, and this is something that we discussed early in the week. Let me just get to that slide. So yeah, it looks like I think it was electric again, the online magazine, where they figured out that people who are Tesla owners, current Tesla owners, who just decided they want to get in line to get a Model 3, almost immediately, within like a couple of weeks, they ended up getting a configuration email saying you can configure, and if they go for it, they can get it within another 3 or 4 weeks. So really, you can really decide to have a Model 3 as a Tesla owner right now, and then get it within 5 or 6 weeks. So a lot of people say, well, wait a second. You know, one thing you're going to give it the priority to Tesla owners that submitted their put themselves in line before us. But if these people did it after us, like us, meaning the rest of the world, that's not a little fair. And I mean, we've talked about it a couple of days ago, right? And I think this is why she's bringing it up. But I don't believe that this should have been in the first place the way they've organized it. I think it should have been first comes, first serve. I agree with her. And really, if anything, you want to expand the community, so you want to offer this to non-Tesla owners, right? And on the other hand, if you're marketing, and I mean, they're not marketing it, but if this is a unaffordable luxury car, that you kind of want to not necessarily cater to people who can already afford $100,000 cars. You want to cater to people who've been waiting for it. This would be their first Tesla. This is, you know, within their budget. I would think that if they got there before others, they should have that car before everybody else. So I don't even like the fact that Tesla did this whole thing for Tesla owners. I am one, so I could be biased, but I'm not. I'd rather be fair. So, and now, you know, I think that's a little bit. I think it's just unfair at this point for Tesla owners just saying, "Oh, I want a Model 3," and they get it within a few weeks. Where people who've been waiting for a long time, you know, I know some of you guys been waiting for 2 years. Will end up waiting for over 2 years. David, please don't put comments like that in the chat room. I will have to ban you, man. Please, there's no any kind of disrespectful comments tolerated here. I'm gonna go ahead and delete it. But please don't do it again, okay? Everybody, this community, everybody has to be respectful, so I won't tolerate anything disrespectful, especially racially or ethnically or whatever. Let's see. Ali says, are you thinking the mega chargers unveiling with the Model Y? I can't imagine why that would be in the same sort of event. I mean, I think mega chargers are something that is, you know, we don't know much about it, right? Are mega chargers going to be for regular cars? If so, then we have a lot of questions, right? And we're going to see how it works. But I think mega chargers are just going to stay for semi trucks, especially in the beginning, and it's going to be kind of a separate thing. I think this is something they're just going to kind of announce, that they're going to install a couple of test stations at their customers like PepsiCo or UPS, the ones with the biggest orders. And I think they've already started talking to them about it, which makes sense. And then they kind of going to roll it out little by little. So I don't think it's going to be as big of a splash as the Model Y. I think Model Y is going to be a major event, as it should be. You know, Elon himself said that he believes Model Y will be their best-selling car once it's out. Agent RR says, also, I believe that Elon is losing the original intent of the Model 3 since it was supposed to be affordable to the masses and it close to a Model S in price. Well, I mean, at some point it will be, right? Once it's available to the masses and once it is, actually you will have a $35,000 version, then we're good to go. Again, we have to understand that they are business and they have to make sure that they at some point making money or at least pleasing the investors because it is a public company. So it does make sense that they are trying to sell the cars that are giving them the biggest return, which means no leases, just purchases, and as expensive as possible. So we do need to understand that they're doing that because they're business, they're a public company. It does seem unfair the way they're doing it. But the fact they're selling the more expensive cars are something that is something we should all kind of understand. We don't want them to go under, right? Let's see. Difference between English and US is they have smaller vocabulary. You have more than typical US-born people. That's right. I believe English and Spanish and German are the languages that maybe have a smaller vocabulary. It's a simpler languages, if you will. By the way, don't shoot the messenger. This is literally just something you can Google. And then there's like, I think, Slavic languages, and the toughest languages are the Asian languages like Chinese and Korean, from what I understand. I think Vietnamese is one of the toughest languages to learn with the biggest vocabulary as well. I can't pronounce that word. Don't comment. Let's see. Ari says, when you think about it, the Volkswagen was guessing people in the 40s. Now they're doing it again. Apes and humans. Some humans were used in the testing recently. Yes, you know, this story left a really. I don't have. I don't want to have a Model 3. As we're talking about it here, I'll just put my logo. Yes, this story left a lot of people really bothered by it. Obviously, animal testing. Now, we have to be fair that the humans they tested it on were all done it voluntarily. Nobody tricked them or captured them and held them against their will. You know, they did it voluntarily. I'm assuming they got paid. So I'm okay with that. If you're an adult making a decision that you want experiments to be done on you within reason, I think that's okay. The problem with animals, obviously animals were captured. It was done against their will. But yeah, a lot of people say, listen, You know, Volkswagen, we still remember, you know, associated German cars that was created by, you know, in the Nazi Germany on gassing any kind of living beings. That really hit a chord with a lot of people, including myself. Obviously, you can see my Jewish last name on this channel, so definitely not a fan of that. I really hope they would have a better response. I mean, I'm sure they didn't do it for the same reasons. I mean, I think we can agree with that. Let's be reasonable, but I think they should realize that they have a bit of a more history attached, where their reaction should have been much stronger, I believe, right? My mouth is getting dry too. Sorry, guys, just it's been almost an hour, so just wanted to grab another drink. Physics says Volkswagen need to sack all involved and make good by opening up documents on events, and then go and do good by people who are affected and those who want to buy incentives. Yeah, I mean, this is exactly what I was saying. Volkswagen has a lot PR to do, and I really wish they would have, you know, admitted it, be open about it again. Again, this is their second strike, but at the same time, do something about it. You know, donate some money to animal rights activists or charities. You know, take care of some animals. Make sure that everybody knows that they believe that this was wrong. By the way, it wasn't just Volkswagen. It was, let's remember, it was also BMW, Mercedes, and Bosch. Let's remember they were all in it together. Volkswagen is getting the worst of it because they already have a history of Dieselgate. So that's why they're really on the front of all of this. Let's see. I'm just kind of skipping through a chat. I'm not saying that they won't make the $35,000 version, says Agent RR, but man, is one delay after another. And if you look at the upgraded Model 3, might as well buy the Model S. That's true, but don't forget that the fully loaded Model 3 is still, you know, has some advantages over the even Model S 75D, right? Because it's going to have a longer range. It has a little bit more upgraded self-driving capability, at least hardware. But nevertheless, the Model S is just a better car. And that's why those prices don't really touch, right? And it does work with for other manufacturers. Tesla is not the only one. BMW Model 3 can go into 60s, right? Or even 70s if it's an M3. And then 7 Series does start around 70 as well. So that those prices actually touch each other. And that's okay. Some people want a small, sportier car and they're willing, but they want everything in it. They're willing to pay a lot of money for it. And some people want to go for the luxury kind, but not soup it up all the way to 140,000, right? So I think that's okay, you know? Let's see. This action by Tesla is purely for economic reasons, says Cook Arpo in the chat room. They want to sell as many higher price Model 3s as they can, which will help them to get to the 35,000 Model 3 sooner. Just a business decision. Absolutely agree. Couldn't have phrased it better. Ben says, does the Model 3 and the Model Y, well, it says Model. Okay, I'm assuming you mistyped, so I'm going to reread it. Does the Model S and the Model X include free supercharging still? Yes, if you use the referral code, except for starting January 15th last year, it's not for life, it's just for the life of your ownership of this car. If you sell it, then you know the new owner will not have it. Before that, it was for the life of the car. 600,000 reservations to date, says Matthias Fritz in the chat room. That, yeah, this is why they're able to do all of this, right, with the Model 3, is because they have enough willing people to support their production of more expensive, the more expensive version of the car. Anton says they were probably told that the monkey tests proved that it wasn't dangerous, which is incorrect. So they did the tests under the false information. So I guess they never released the findings of that test, Anton, and that actually bothers me also, because that was like for really no reason whatsoever. Don't forget sponsor and to ask for a like. Reminds me, Mr. Kariko 3. I know I have an amazing audience when they want to hear about the sponsor that I have one more time. All right, I'll do that. this channel. And this video is sponsored by Avanex, the aftermarket accessories for Teslas. I'm a fan myself. I have a few of them. And if you want to shop there, they were giving us our own discount code. I believe it's E4Electric, but look into the description of this video and you can save a few bucks when you're shopping there. And of course, please hit the like button if you're just joining us, if you haven't done that yet. If you just have a couple seconds to help this video out to do well after it gets reposted on YouTube, I would really appreciate it. Ari says, when you think about it, the whole reason for this gas testing was to dispute harm to people in the environment because they are trying to fight against the electric revolution. I think what they were trying to fight against was to prove that the diesel is the current diesel engines that they have are cleaner than the previous diesel engines, because I think the other car they were testing against was like an old Ford truck, and they were testing it against a brand new Volkswagen Bug. Now, of course, it was proven right because Volkswagen Bug had the cheating software and hardware in that to fool the machine, and that was the reason. But I think they were kind of comparing the old school diesel and the new school diesel. So that's a completely different from, hey guys, you should really just do electric cars for now. All right, let's see. What is the next story? What is the next story? I think really quickly, so this was an interesting little story that the Tesla Model 3 app got updated. And now on the screen, you can see the list of everybody you ever given the keys, or at least the current keys, right? Because you can give digital keys to people if you're renting it on Turo, or if you're giving it to your kid and you want to make sure that the key only works at a certain time. So you can, I was surprised that only now they've updated the software where you can see the list of those keys so you can manage it inside the car. Now, that software, right, they're still catching up. There's, you know, remember when they started making the car and only like 3 months into it, they finally put a FM radio in it. So it's still coming around. So this is the feature that they've recently just put in into the Model 3 app. Let's see. Okay, we're gonna get to this story in a second, but let me read a couple more of the comments. Ari says another reason to look at them in a negative way. Yes, that's what I'm saying. This is a tough week for the electric car industry for us. How many Model 3 being produced now? In person, I saw a VIN that was around 5,000, but I'm going to assume they're probably 6,000-7,000 at this point. The car that I saw recently was produced 2 weeks ago, and it was about 5,000 VIN. So about 6,000-7,000, that sounds about right. What is the range of the new lowest price Model S? 75D, says Cook Arpo. God, I think it's 240. Don't quote me on that. You can easily Google that, but I think it's 240, right? Let's see. Commentator with a K. Welcome. Never seen your comment, so welcome to the live show. Hopefully, he says or she says, hopefully Tesla will actually make some profit soon. There really is no point to the hype when they go out of business soon, no matter how good the cars are. So about that, actually, then I'm going to go ahead and switch to some other image right here. About that, they're not going to go bankrupt anytime soon, because as you can see, every time they need to raise money, there's a line out of the door. Like, you know, they just I don't know if they closed this, but they're just about to, or just already finished raising $500 million, you know, just a pocket change, using the Model S and Model X lease securities. And I believe it was 14 times oversubscribed, meaning when they announced that they're going to do it, there were 14 times as many companies and people who wanted to buy it, companies mainly, then they had it, right? So technically they could have raised 7 million. Well, probably couldn't, because that's, you know, there's only a limit to the leases. But what I'm saying is every time Elon Musk needs to raise money, he does it very well. The other day he was selling, I don't know if you're aware of this, but he decided to sell hats for his boring company, for the drilling company he has. He raised like the ridiculous amount of money just selling hats. Then he's also selling the flamethrower. So Tesla is not going to go out of business as long as Elon Musk is the front of the company. People will always give them money. And I always also point everybody to Amazon, that hasn't been profitable for many years until very recently, because they were basically, and they, you know, they were supported by the investors. They said, listen, we need to build an empire, right? And therefore we're going to be investing more and more and more to beat the competition, to make sure we're the best, and at some point we're going to be profitable. But for the next, so many years, we just want to reinvest, and that's what Tesla is doing right now. By the way, I don't know if you know, but here in the United States, a lot of companies are going out of business or downsizing. Like we're talking about major players, like Walmart, Sears, Macy's, because Amazon is so great. Like I really don't remember the last time I was at Sears or Walmart because I order everything on Amazon. It's like amazing. And now I even order my groceries on Amazon sometimes when I don't have time. So Amazon had a great strategy, and everybody was saying, oh my god, they're gonna go bankrupt, they're all this debt, all this, they're never profitable. Well, guess what, that was a good strategy, and I think that Tesla is following them, and I think that is perfectly fine. I had heard findings that they showed no harm, says Ari, talking about Volkswagen testing of animals. But remember, the tests were the short term. This does not account for long-term effects living in a city with cars. That's correct. And listen, I'm not arguing that Volkswagen was full of crap trying to do the study, right? I mean, they're just trying to play a PR game. Obviously, long-term effects. I believe in Europe it's a problem, and I think in major Chinese cities is that diesel cars produce, just like all cars, produce fumes that are bad for our lungs. When you burn crap, when you burn chemicals and just throw it out there back into our lungs, yeah, a lot of people will have breathing and lung related diseases, cancers and so forth. So I mean, that's not like, you don't even have to be a doctor to know that that's true, right? But yeah, absolutely. That study wasn't going to study long-term effects. Why would they, right? Because, they'll find what it really is going to do and has been doing. I believe 72,000 lung and pollution-related deaths were I believe just in Europe. I don't know if the statistics was for 1 year, but I believe it was. So that's pretty bad, right? Now, I want to be fair because we don't know what other factors contributed. Maybe some of these people were smokers, or just some, just have genes that predispose. But nevertheless, a really big contribution long term. So I absolutely agree with you. Let's see. Please do a show on Avanex accessories, says Caesar. You might be able to get some great feedback about what people are looking for to upgrade the base model we all are waiting patiently for. I actually have a video, I believe, like these are like gifts that you can give to Tesla owners. So I have that on my channel. I also reviewed the car cover. I also did the organizer, but you're right. I have that video waiting for you guys. I will probably feature it as soon as I can. But yeah, I need to make a video with Avanex and just kind of review the accessories. I just try to review stuff that I have myself because I can vouch for that, right? That's something that I use. But you're right. I will do one soon. Definitely for the organizer. Gary, New York, welcomes. He says, dropped in for a short visit today. It's always good to see you, Gary. I think you have been one of the most regulars, along with Physics and Nigel. I mean, guys, this is why it's like, think about it. This is Sunday. It's a sunny day in here in California, as it usually is. I am could have been already at the beach in Santa Cruz, having a good time, just relaxing. But you will not peel me off of this damn desk here that I have here. And because I love this. This is better than beach for me. I love hanging out with you guys, and I so appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Just the fact that we're forming a community here, and there are more and more of us. I see more and more of you guys consistently coming back and participating in this conversation. I absolutely love it. Again, I usually go until I lose my voice, and only then I go to the beach. But if I could go all day, like Nick Nimmin, right? The guy that has been my inspiration and someone who I follow greatly. He helps other people have YouTube channels. He goes for 5 hours, 5-6 hours. And I asked him about, how in the world he can do that. But I guess his voice is fine. If I could do 5 hours here with you guys and you would be willing to hang out with me, I would totally do it. So I really appreciate it. Thank you, Gary, and everybody else for making this a real community, not just me talking at the camera, but you talking along with me, and a lot of times contributing to the show just as much. So thank you guys. Really, this has been just such a great ride. I've only been doing it for 3 months, and I'm just completely in love with it. Let's see. I'm gonna skip forward. I'm sorry if I don't mean to ignore comments, but I really am behind. Showing profits is not necessary, says Ari. when you do not, and many times like with Tesla, is because you are growing and reinvesting to make more of the future. Yeah, this is exactly what I think the whole point is. He continues to say Amazon grew like crazy and their profits never went up. Yes, you just said, okay, I think we're just repeating each other like a married couple. What's happening? We're literally finishing each other's sentences. Tesla is just buying what they need and growing as they go in practically real time. As just saw something Tesla close to Stockton, which I have no idea what it is yet, says Edward in the chat room. Let us know when you find out. Okay, guys, let's move on to another story. We covered this earlier, and this is why I think we're having a tough week as a community, because, you know, Maine became one of the other, yet one more state where a bill is being proposed that not only the electric cars are going to be charged separate DMV fees to compensate for the fact that they are not contributing to sort of road infrastructure and so forth through the gas tax, which already is kind of weird because, you know, it looks like most of the states, you know, in the United States and other countries, provinces and just countries in general, they don't mind providing benefits. Bit of a break for those who buy electric cars. So it's weird that, you know, there's some states who just kind of want to equal it out. The argument that they're saying is that electric cars are heavier and therefore they should pay more. Obviously, I'm not buying that. I think it's kind of a BS because there are a lot of SUVs out on the road. They're much heavier than Chevy Bolts and Model 3s. There are a lot of huge trucks, and semi-trucks are all diesel and all gas powered. So, you know, and the diesel is relatively safe. So if you look at the combination of weight to how much money they're paying, I'm not really sure if it's really that good of a point there. But the reason this is a story is that they want the electric car owners pay more. That's why this is a story. I hope it doesn't pass. I hope it doesn't get through their, you know, Congress, through their legislative branch, and governor still needs to sign it. But this is, you know, this is bad. This is bad news. I hope this is something that we can avoid. Here in the United States, I know there are in other states, and I know there are some countries that are considering this. Again, I understand the point behind it, but still, don't make us pay more, because if anything, we're helping you guys out by, you know, breathing thing we're just talking about. Let me go back in the chat room. God, wow, you guys, this is moving very fast. Is this the fastest the chat has ever moved? If you do show a profit, what do you do with the money? Stick it in a worthless bank, pay excess execs more? No, says Ari. Well, yeah, I mean, if you make a profit, well, I mean, it's good to have money in the bank, right? Because what you can do with it is, first of all, you can save it for a rainy day, right? The economy goes up and down. Having a few $1 billion in the bank like Apple does probably doesn't hurt, because it's a security for the company, for the customers, and for the investors. Like knowing that the company has reserves, so no matter what happens, they're good. Don't forget, you know, how much money, what was it, 23? A ridiculous amount of money that Volkswagen had to pay out. And if, you know, if they were living in debt already, that could have been, you know, a major blow to the company, but they had enough cash when they can pay it out. I think it was, correct me if I'm wrong, $23 billion that they had to pay out for the whole Dieselgate stuff, and maybe they're going to have to pay out more. And also, here's another thing which you can do with that money. You can acquire other companies, right? Because larger companies really, they don't like to invent, right? Once you become really big, they don't like to invent. They like to buy smaller companies, right? Somebody who has a startup, had you know, investors, they were able to come up with a technology, proof of concept, maybe get some customers, and then the larger companies come in and snatch them up because they said, okay, you guys done the hard work, we'll pay you money, but now we want to have this technology. So we didn't really have to do it, because obviously, it's not like when a technology comes out, there's one startup that's working on it. There will be like hundreds of startups, 95% of them will fail, and the ones that kind of survive are the ones that are usually snatched up by the bigger companies, because, hey, you know, they didn't want to have 100 different new R&D departments going through all these technologies. That will cost them more than if they just buy one of those companies. And if you have money in the bank, it makes it much easier to buy a company. Let's see. Come to the Caribbean. Jamaica says people need to understand that Tesla is still a new and growing company, and they're going to invest in everything for the next 10 years. Absolutely agree. And, you know, look what they're doing with the money. It's not like they're, you know, burning it. Model 3, that costs what, $3 billion just to build the production line and develop it? Very well worth it, right? They're gonna be making these cars for a long time. Would they invest in the solar energy? Those products are going to be really, I mean, looks like they've kind of slowed down with that, but at the same time, they give us indication at the last earnings call that they're going to start ramping up the solar products as well. As you remember, there was a story that they are now expanding to more Home Depots here to offer their products. So yeah, no, there's a lot, and you know, they also bought Grumman Engineering, a German company, to make sure they are good with making robots. And a lot of times they said that the value in their company is not so much the product, but how they make it, right? That's what Elon says. The technology of how we make these cars is what our special sauce is, not necessarily the final product, which is like the first time an automaker would even be able to say this. Physics says that Amazon, it's one of the 14 principles we call ownership. We don't sacrifice long-term goals for short-term gains. Not bad. I like that. Let's see. You guys talking to each other. Sweden is still working hard to keep out Amazon, Alibaba, but it's only a matter of time, says Come to the Caribbean. Jamaica, yeah. Amazon and Alibaba, that's actually another good example. That's that they will be everywhere, because I mean, listen, they provide really awesome service. You need something, you shop, it's very easy, good user interface. You know, here in the United States we have Prime membership where, you know, everything gets delivered. Not everything, most of the products get delivered within a couple of days to your doorstep for free. Not bad, not bad. EU will stop them, Anton says. Come to the Caribbean, Jamaica. Probably you guys talking to Amazon, right? Eddie B says, I always like talking electric cars. I'm going to the beach soon, though I am in San Diego. I am a little bit jealous. I will catch up to you here in San Diego. Oh, sorry, here in Santa Cruz later, but I'm sure you guys have a much warmer weather. Well, what is it at 80 in San Diego? If you can in Celsius. I'm not in Fahrenheit. My brain has not converted to Fahrenheit just yet. Agent RR says, you should make a t-shirt like that. I am sure we would buy it. Like what? Did I say something that could have been on a t-shirt? Ari says, I was just in the process of typing that when you said it because we were leading up to it. All right. In regards to your married couple thing, yes. I'm blushing. Me too. Listen, I think we're all supposed to be finishing each other's sentences because our community, you know, we're on the same page, right? Let's see. Model 3 is only 3,800 pounds, says Fabio. That conversation is how heavy the cars are and whether or not they should pay more because they're electric cars and they're heavier. Let me move. Okay, let me catch up to some of the comments really quick, and then I'm going to move on to the next story. There are a lot of stories coming up this week, right? It's just not all of them are great. Physics says electric cars may be heavy. All they will do is concrete the road, which is cheaper, and they get double profit. I'm surprised they aren't considered of people saved on the roads. Yeah, I mean, that's another good point, right? Electric cars will save more people because of the autonomous driving technology, because of the better safety, because they don't have to have a big engine up front. And there was a story, right? This is the story. Well, why don't I move on to that story? I'm kind of surprised that I haven't really covered that yet, but let me find it. We did this, we did this, we did this story. I was going to get to the story where the Model 3 crash. Oh, here it is. Yeah, so this happened this week, right? The guy driving Model 3 crashed his car into a parked car at 60 miles an hour. Still not sure how you can do that unless you were driving really fast on a freeway, probably expressway, and you had to swerve, you know, off the road, and you just hit a parked car. I'm only assuming that's how it can actually happen, but so this is what happened. This is an actual picture that he posted on Reddit, and what he was saying that there were a couple of issues with it. Well, first of all, he walked away, and that's great. A lot of paramedics and a lot of people said that normally if you hit the car at 60 miles an hour, you would not be walking away from it. But like I said, the opinion of a random guy who owns a Model 3 and even some paramedics is not exactly a professional opinion of first investigators, people who are going to investigate this crash, but also people who actually have institutes on researching the safety, right? We don't know what kind of car was parked there. We don't know what happened and whether or not the automatic braking system has worked partially. I mean, there's a lot of things, right? So you can't just, you know, kind of take a random opinion and say, yes, this crash really would have been fatal if there was any other car, but in this case, this particular car in this particular situation saved this person's life. So I'm going to wait for until the investigation is over and see what really happened. But there are a couple of things that he mentioned which triggered Elon Musk to tweet. One thing he said that the monitor has shattered and cut, I guess, the passenger and him a little bit. I was surprised that, I gotta tell you myself, that I haven't thought about this before. And also he said he couldn't get his documents out of the glove box because, as you know, it's only operated through a touchscreen, and the touchscreen was gone after the accident. So Elon tweeted that they are going to be adding software feature that when there's an accident and the car comes to a complete stop, the glove box will open. Again, I'm surprised they haven't thought it through. I wonder, well, could it be that the crash is severe enough where the computer gets damaged and is not able to do that part? So I'm not really sure if it's a 100% good solution, but nevertheless, it's good that they are reacting. And also he said they're going to be putting some bonding plastic sheet on the somewhere on top or the bottom of the top layer so it doesn't shatter like it did. Again, I'm surprised they haven't done it earlier before. They haven't thought this through. So I don't know. There was also a report that their back doors you can't open them manually during the car crash, so it makes it harder to get out of the car, especially if those are kids. So that's another issue that they're working on. And I know this is just the first few months of this car being in production. Well, first, 6 months, right? And I know they will be fixing a lot of these things, but, you know, for a company that thinks through so many amazing things, I'm surprised that this is an issue. But nevertheless, that was also another, you know, tough story this week that I thought it was great that the guy walked away. We don't know exactly, is it because of this specific car and a safety feature, or because it just happened that way in this, what I think is an odd, a rare accident. But the issues with some of the safety that came out with it, a little troublesome. What about all the oil that gets spilled on the road from the ice and polluting the air, says Ben. Yeah, I agree. I mean, this is the whole point, right? The electric cars, a lot of countries and a lot of states are willing to help the electric car owners, electric car makers, to make these cars, to make sure that they're on the road, because we're helping the rest of the world, the rest of the people who are buying gas cars, because of exactly what you just mentioned. Yeah, oil spill in the road, probably not as big issue, even though it is, but the whole breathing thing and polluting the air is definitely a big deal. And this is something that you can't really argue. I don't care if you're environmentalist or you believe in global warming, you don't believe the global warming. Bottom line is, you burn a bunch of chemicals and then, you know, let people breathe in it, you're not going to have a good, healthy results. So that, again, don't need to be a doctor to understand that. Let's see. DRK says Maine is full of crap. And this, we go back to the story about the new proposed bill where electric car owners will have to pay more than even gas car owners. She says they should increase the fees on old and dirty technology. Totally agree. EVs are better for way more than just their effect on the roads. Preaching to a choir, I hope it doesn't pass, but again, I just wanted to bring it up because it seems like, you know, there's still a lot of people and organizations and corporations working against us, against the electric car movement, and I wanted to bring it to everyone's attention. By the way, just want to thank my Patreons. If you guys are a part of my Patreon community, there's a link down below in the description of this video. I really appreciate you supporting the show. I just put up a video of my sort of behind the scenes, quick couple of minute video about us hanging out, me hanging out with the New Delhi TV, the Indian car and bike show that was visiting here, interviewing me, doing some stories on Tesla and other car companies, including Byton, by the way. So I always try to post behind the scenes footage, some exclusive footage for you guys for supporting my channel. If you are interested in supporting this show. It's not cheap to produce, I have to say. You can always do that by clicking the Patreon link in the description of this video. Ari says, many have spoken of this. Solar and batteries are going to be the future of the power generation and supply industry. Think of what that means. Huge. You know, I believe that Tesla is actually going to make more money and become a much bigger company because of their solar products, not because of their car products. I really think that Tesla will be an energy company that also makes cars. As a matter of fact, I won't be actually surprised that at some point they will split up again into Solar City, you know, Tesla Energy, if you will, and a Tesla Motors, right? I'm totally for them combining them, because right now we need a one-stop shop kind of a deal. So I was always for the Solar City merger, but I think, you know, the energy products they're going to have, the battery packs, for businesses and homes, also with solar batteries, the chargers, the solar roof. I think they might just be a much bigger business than selling cars. So I definitely think that's a great move on Tesla's part, acquiring Solar City. Coral Irwin says Germany has a law that wouldn't let any fines to their big companies larger than 10 billion. You know, we've discussed this before, right? Germany has been very overly protective, as they probably should be, of their pride and joy of their German car manufacturers. They've been kings of high performance cars in the world for many years, for many decades, really, if you will. And of course, they want to protect their industry. Obviously, I wish those German companies would be making better strides towards the electric cars and green energy. Some of them are more than others. But I'm not that surprised that German government is trying to keep them profitable, operational, and successful. We've already talked about a few weeks ago how Germany is like the only country, or one of the very few, that has a cap at after which, on the car price, after which they're not going to, and they don't provide incentives, and it's magically set at the almost exact price of what the cheapest Tesla is priced at. You know, again, it would make more sense if they would make some sort of other reasoning behind it. I don't necessarily, some people agree that, you know, if you make so much money, you can afford a $70,000, $80,000, $100,000 car, that you shouldn't get the government incentives. On the other hand, if you can afford that kind of a car, you probably paid more than anybody else in taxes, so you should be first in line to receive them back, right? It's a conversation we have ongoing, just kind of, but yeah, Germany has been not very good for the electric car movement, mainly because German car makers weren't as good, at least right now, for the green movement. Though, you know, the story that's coming out of BMW and sometimes Mercedes, definitely very hopeful. Let's see. In Oklahoma, says Ace, we have EV incentives that cover up to 75% of alternative fuel infrastructure, but it's currently one of the few states that Tesla can't sell direct to consumers. That's right, yeah? Isn't that funny? As Alanis Morissette would say, isn't that ironic, don't you think, right? She should rewrite that show about you guys there in Oklahoma with this. You're providing incentives to alternative fuel car makers, but yet you don't allow them to sell them in there. Yeah, I never thought about this. I mean, I knew that Oklahoma is one of the states, but I didn't know that that's the situation there. Well, I'm laughing, but I'm actually crying inside. All right. Ari in the chat room says many have spoke of this. Okay, we already touched on that. Let's see. Fabio reminds everybody to give this video a thumbs up. I appreciate it. Please do. If you're just joining us, always makes this video do so much better in a replay. You actually, guys, just don't know if you know this, but 95% of people who watch my videos watch it in a replay because they're not able to join us live most of the time. During the week, my videos are no longer than 15 minutes long usually. Now, there will be a week in March because of my day job where I won't be able to do 11 a.m. shows. I will probably do 7 p.m. or 10 p.m. Pacific time shows. And I know you guys probably won't be able to make it because it's kind of the opposite side of the day, and I apologize. But I'm also looking forward to giving a chance to people who usually are not able to make it at this time to be able to participate and to see some, you know, fresh faces in the chat room for about a week. It's going to go for about a week. So just heads up, it's going to happen in March, but I'm looking forward to that. Come to the Caribbean. Jamaica says 99.9% of Tesla will not go up in flames, but for safety, the fire department will cut all the powers on the cars. Okay. Ari says Tesla should not split up the power in cars, stay together and support each other. Well, I mean, yeah, when companies split up, they don't like break up as girlfriend and boyfriend or husband and wife, right? They still do business together. It just helps them move faster in their respective industries. Sometimes it's done for the better good. He continues to say the power side can help the car side make better cars for less money and expand sales as RVC charging. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I said it assuming that they would still be obviously, you know, helping each other out. Let's see, what's the next story? Next story is a Faraday Future. They had some news this week, and a lot of people think it's a failing car company, and it was really until like a few months ago when they announced that some anonymous investor, we don't know who it is, which is already kind of weird, has committed to $1.5 billion, and third of it is already in Faraday Future's bank to finance the company, though they're not changing their CEO that's, you know, been in so much trouble in China because of all of his debt. There were a lot of reports coming out that the reason Faraday Future is where it is, which is in a I forgot what the expression is without using a curse word, but they're in trouble. Okay, let's just say they're in trouble because of the way he ran the company. But nevertheless, he's going to continue running the company, and they just held their supply chain summit. And okay, there you go. That's him. That's YT talking in front of the a lot of manufacturers, and this is a sign that it looks like they might be moving towards realistic production, because this is the first step, right? This is the first step in terms of, hey, what is the supply chain? What suppliers we can work with? What parts we need to make in-house? Which ones can be supplied to us? And then apparently they shared a bunch of different pictures of different parts they need, and they also shared a couple of drawings of what they see their future is, about some cars that they're hoping to make in the future. That's kind of moot point right now, right? They just need to already do it. A lot of people believe that this is too late, that they haven't really made that much progress with their technology. So even if they bring this car to market in another 2 or 3 years, it's going to be outdated. They won't be able to compete, especially at their price point of over $100,000 with existing companies like Tesla and so forth. And there's some truth to that, right? Unless they made some really major strides to keep up with the market, by the time they go to production, they just may be out of luck, regardless of how much money they have. This also goes for Lucid Motors, right? Lucid Motors is kind of in the same boat, where their technology is going to be outdated unless they're still working on it and improving it. But of course, with the Lucid Air, the problem is that they don't even have the injection of the cash, that they're, you know, slowly running out of it, though they did sign a lease to move to the newer headquarters. I know I reported on a while back. There's also an interesting exclusive video on my Patreon page about it. Hope my Patreons enjoyed it. But you know, that lease, when I got to the building, and I've seen some of the PDF files of that building sort of marketing documents, it does look like you cannot just come in and lease that building unless you have some major money in a bank. So that made me believe that they actually did get some injection of cash, but it did not. I mean, there were no other advancements to confirm that, so I'm just gonna assume that they're still looking for it. I hope they find it. I really like it. I have a video on my channel if you want to see. I have a complete experience with the car in the Monterey Car Week. I was able to check it out, get behind the wheel, see it inside and out, interview some of their guys. It's one of the best videos that I think I've done on location, so check it out. Search my channel, and that video is going to be right there. Let's see. Ari says other auto manufacturers have to strike a deal with dealers and pay them off, or force customers to go to dealers to get updates of their updates or service, which yeah, so he's talking about, let me just rephrase it. I mean, obviously he's talking about the huge advantage that Tesla has over everybody else, because they do have the over-the-air updates. The car gets better with time, which you cannot say for any other car, because you literally, if you want to make your car better, you have to get to the dealership and retrofit it, where sometimes we wake up in the morning as Tesla owners and our cars are either faster or better or have a newer feature, and that is amazing. This is definitely future. I would be surprised if in the next 2 or 3 years, other manufacturers that are coming up with their electric cars will not have the same thing. That would be epic failure, obviously, on their part. Ari says Faraday Futures is in hot water. Absolutely they are, but you know, money helps. Lucid Air should buy Faraday Future. I don't think they have money to buy a sandwich lately, I have to say. So I think if anything, it would be the other way around. The Faraday Future would buy a Lucid Air. There were rumors that Lucid Air was being shopped or looked at by Ford Motors, would make all the sense in the world, but unfortunately that didn't happen. At least I haven't heard anything else since then. I really do believe that Lucid Air would be a great acquisition by either Toyota or Ford, or a company that's just behind on electric cars and can really make a major step forward by acquiring a company like that. So we'll see what happens with that. Edward says, I'm not a Faraday fan due to the way they try to come out saying they are Tesla killers instead of just competing honestly and earning our support. Well, I mean, it is, especially at that time, because there weren't that many competitors for Tesla. That was a part of a reasonable marketing strategy, right? It did turn heads. You have to admit that that did work at that time. And I think the problem that I'm having with them is that they haven't delivered on that, right? I think most people would say that that's their problem with Faraday Future. Agent RR says, do you think that they will catch up to Tesla because they have wasted so much time? I believe they're falling behind. If you're talking about either Faraday Future or Lucid Air, they were already behind. Now they're more behind, unless they're developing something in a stealth mode and we don't know about it. But but we don't know, right? Let's see. Ari says, read my comment before that update one. The deal is that other manufacturers cannot do over-the-air updates even they want to because of the... Oh, I see what you mean. Okay, I get it. So you're saying because of the franchise laws that they love so much, they cannot do the over-the-air updates because, you're right, a lot of dealerships make their money on service. And if your car is getting better without their involvement, they cannot make money. That's a great point. As a matter of fact, you know what I was going to do? I was going to do it this weekend, but maybe I'll do it next weekend. Is I was going to stop by like Nissan dealership and see what they say when I come in and say, well, I want to buy a Nissan Leaf, because I've heard some stories from some friends of mine that when they did go and try to get a new Nissan Leaf, the dealership did everything possible to not have them buy a Nissan Leaf. They were trying to have them buy something else. And again, this goes to what Ari was bringing up, is that dealerships don't like selling electric cars, right? Because they make their money on service, which electric cars really don't need. So kudos. Let's see. Commentator says, I think Tesla has fallen behind when it comes to autonomous driving. Absolutely agree. As a matter of fact, not behind, severely behind. They've fallen behind themselves, right? The 2.5 version of Autopilot, as we know, is not as good as 1.0 Autopilot. So absolutely. As a matter of fact, there's a recent study that a lot of people really kind of disputed, but nevertheless, there was a study that Tesla was dead last in an electric car, autonomous driving technology. Let me say it again. That the Tesla was the dead last in autonomous driving technology, with Waymo and Cruise Automotive, which is part of GM, being the top two. It makes sense to me. I know there are some people questioning the way the survey was done or who paid for it, but nevertheless, hey, Waymo is just about to launch and already kind of launched their fleet of cars that don't have a driver behind the seat. They just have an employee in a passenger seat. They're doing it in an autonomous driving level 4 mode. Cruise Automotive is right behind them, and Tesla is still catching up to themselves from 2014. Ford is too proud to buy some small-time EV company, says Ben. You know, I think Ford has gone through enough of embarrassment in the last decade to not be proud to do anything that would improve their chances of making good cars. But if you're right, it would be sad. Ari said that I said hot water because there was the face you could not think of without cursing. Oh, I see. Okay. Yes. Thank you. I appreciate that. Let's see. Agent RR says, was Autopilot 2 made by Tesla and Autopilot won by Cruise. No, so originally Tesla's Autopilot 1.0 was made by the company that since was bought by Intel. The company is called Mobileye, and it was pretty good. It's still better now than the 2.5, and after that Tesla took over and decided to develop their own, which kind of was a good idea at some point because, you know, they are trying to, I guess, go in the Apple's route where they're gonna try to control as much of their own software hardware as possible. I'm not a fan of that. I think they should have stuck with a third party because I just don't like Apple's way of doing business and just Apple's cult of having everything to be bought from Apple, controlled by Apple. I like more of a, you know, where other different companies and competitors can create products for your customer base. But Tesla is going this way, so they've decided to do it in-house, and they're just not able to catch up to Mobileye from a few years ago. So that worked. Out that way, unfortunately. Nigel says, "Does your shirt have a slogan on the back? Too old and cold here to wear a t-shirt, plus a bit more class." Well, I mean, so yeah, I have my t-shirts that I make designs of. I just don't think they look as good on camera. So I'd prefer to wear my fitted shirts like this, and it kind of blends in with the background. But I try to wear my design, the shirts that have t-shirts that I've designed. I think I'm going to redo my setup a little bit in the next week or two. So there's like my shot is not as tight. You'll see a little bit more of me. Like it's probably going to be like more like this. Right, that way I think I will look a little bit better in a t-shirt. Because right now, because I'm so close to the camera, when I wear a t-shirt, my head looks humongous compared to my body, and that looks kind of funny. Let's see. No, but Nigel, I don't have a slogan on the back. I probably should. Not a bad idea. All right, another story that we had is that the province of Ontario in Canada, their police department have unveiled the Model X as one of their police cars, and you know this is what it's going to look like. And you know, other police departments have tried using Teslas in electric cars in general before. It was more of a publicity stunt, and maybe this one is as well. But I think this story is good. For again, you know, remember how we talked about how, you know, electric car movement hasn't really reached the rest of the world yet. A lot of people really don't know or appreciate what electric cars can do for them. So when the police says, hey, listen, we want to chase the bad guys in the best car out there, we think, which is Tesla, which is an electric car, I think that sends a great message. And it's a great publicity for electric cars and Tesla in particular. So kudos to them. This is from their Twitter account, which is, you know, they have a pretty active Twitter account for a police department, right? So that I thought that was a pretty cool story. Before we move on to the Chevy Bolt story, let me pick up on a couple more questions. Alexander C. in the chat room says, this week there were reports from Hyundai Ioniq owners having major problems. One guy had his car in service center dealership for 18 days and still not fixed. Yes, I saw this story. I think Electric featured it in a few other news organizations that I wasn't good. I didn't really cover it because some of the things are just not really conclusive yet. Yes, they're having some trouble with their cars, but I don't think any of those articles compared it to other manufacturers because, you know, every time something happens with an electric car manufacturer, everybody, like, remember when a couple of Teslas caught on fire? And it was like, oh my God, these Teslas are awful. They catch on fire all the time. And in a lifetime, a Tesla only caught on fire twice, where I believe there's like up to 50,000 gas car fires that happen every year. And on top of that, what's that Fast and Furious actor who died for no other reason because I think the Porsche basically blew up when hitting a pole, like almost the same year as the Tesla stories were coming out. So my point is that every time somebody gets on the case of an electric car company, I always want to know, well, how is it compared to a regular gas car company, right? So the Ioniq problems are above average problems when a gas a model has a problem, or is this really something in particular that's out of extraordinary and then we can look into it? I did not find any evidence, maybe I wasn't looking at the right numbers, so correct me if I'm wrong, that they're just a car company that's just having a problem and need maybe a recall on one of their models. And I don't think that's news. Correct me if I'm wrong. So let's see. Let me scroll. No more idling police cars, says Ben. Yeah, I know. What is this? Was it the LA Police Department, Los Angeles Police Department, that said that they bought a bunch of i3s and they're just kind of collecting dust? Not really sure. I don't think they were buying them to actually chase bad guys around or even patrolling them, but were more like deliveries and stuff like that. But yeah, they apparently they're collecting dust, so that was a failure. But just like I said, anytime electric car is being promoted by a police department, I think it's good, right? Because we kind of think that they're chasing bad guys in the best available car, so they know what they're talking about. So as a publicity stunt, I think this is good. Hi from Santa Cruz, says Surat C. I am going to Santa Cruz after I'm done with the stream. I love Santa Cruz because here in Silicon Valley, it's so busy. You can't drive down the street or walk down the street without feeling a pressure of the fast-paced environment, and then you just go over the hill, about what, 40-minute drive. It is so nice and pleasant. Everything is slow, like a slow motion. So that's where I get to relax and recharge for the next week. But just like I said, if I could go for 5 hours with this stream, I would. I would forfeit my beach time. But as you can probably hear, my voice is starting to go. We have a few stories to talk about it, so let's get to them right now. Saga Photo DE in the chat room says, is Autopilot 2.5 really worse than Autopilot 1? All videos I saw about Model 3 showed no major issues. Well, there are no major issues right now, but I believe right now that 2.5 can't even see the cars in the next lanes, I believe still, and they just updated their rain sensing wipers feature, and I think it's still in beta, so that's something well. Very recently, they also just updated the automatic high beams, and they finally removed some of the limitations on the speed. So it's definitely not better than 1.0, but I think there are a couple of things that they still haven't figured out. And you know, I'm comparing the Autopilot 1 to Autopilot 2.5 on the Model S, because Model 3 obviously never had a 1.0 Autopilot. So the fair comparison would be between Model S or even Model X previous and current version. Wait, does Model X even have a 1.0? Anyway, let me just go back and just say Model S, because I don't remember if Model X ever had a 1.0 version. Let's see, Ford EVs are no good, only 75 to 85 mile of range, says Fabio. Absolutely, Ford is very much behind, and even if they had a good range, they're not even very technologically advanced from when I see just regular Ford cars. Let's see, don't forget that there is a lot of maintenance, gas, repair, and not to mention polluting the air, says Agent RR. She is right. That goes into these police cars. Going electric is a good idea. Yes. I meant, so here was my point about the police cars, right? A lot of people who don't know about electric cars, trust me, they are not environmental supporters, right? Everybody who is for green energy, for environment, they all know about electric cars. People who don't, they're not exactly fans of, you know, environment or green energy, right? So those are the people that we're trying to reach. So the way you reach them is by saying, hey, electric cars, not just greener and make you breathe and die, make you breathe better and die later than you would if you breathe fumes, but they're also better cars, right? And I think one of the ways to showcase it is to have a police department come out and say, hey, we're chasing the bad guys in this awesome car, and we're making a big deal about getting it. So that's what I meant. Let's see. I pity you. Come to Irish Beach, says Nigel. Don't pity me. I'm having a good time. I am having a good time talking to you guys, so I'm fine. Let's see. Cannot understand why they cannot just use Model S info and swap over the Model 3, says Nigel. What do you mean Model 3, Model S info? If you don't mind clarifying that. All right, guys, let me move to another kind of a sad story, because even though I'm not a big fan of Chevy Bolt the way it looks, I'm a big fan of Chevy Bolt because it has a decent range and it's being made by a major manufacturer. Yes, they don't really seem like they're behind it all the way, but nevertheless, they were the only other companies besides, well, still are, besides Tesla that has over 200-mile range in mass production. So kudos to them. And I know some people don't have a problem with the way a car looks. It is a hatchback. It is a smaller car. So if you live in a bigger city or in Europe where the space is limited, it is a good car. And I understand why people are buying it. But as you know, in Europe, they were not being sold as Chevy Bolts. They were sold under the brand of Opel as an Ampere E. And almost immediately, once they started selling them, Opel was sold to what is it, PSA Group, the one that owns, I believe, Peugeot and Citroën. Again, don't quote me, but it was sold to another car maker, and then Chevy Bolt was no longer really interested in supplying them with cars or parts and everything, and so they finally decided that screw that, we're just not going to make this car anymore. We are going to go and make our money by converting and start producing Opel Corsa, which is an existing car. I believe it's a hybrid, and we're going to make it all electric, and that's the car that's going to kind of replace what we thought that the Chevy Bolt, which is an Opel Ampere E, was going to do for us. So good idea, good for them. Obviously good for them to not giving up, to continuing and wanting to make electric cars. So I definitely like that. But it makes me question even more, and a lot of guys, well, a lot of you commented in the comment section, you know, that maybe this is a compliance car for Chevy. Now, we all know that most electric cars that are being made are not exactly making money. A lot of it is for loss, but this is nothing new. Companies make new products at loss to get their market share, and once they're actually able to make it on a really mass scale, they're going to start making a lot of money after that. So that's nothing new. I think they were saying that the Chevy Bolt, GM loses about $9,000 per each car, but in America it makes sense because they get the ZEV credits, right? The green credits that they need to meet for the regulation purposes. But in Europe, there's no such thing as ZEV credits, so why bother? Well, I believe that you should bother because, you know, other companies like Opel now, they're gonna you know, get the market share away from you because you're not there, and then once it becomes profitable, which it will at some point, well, they're going to be making that profit and not you. And I think a company like GM, first of all, they can afford a bit of a loss at $9,000 per car that they're not even making in that large of amounts. I mean, how many do they sell? What, 1,000 to 3,000 a month? That's pocket change for GM. And but instead, they would be getting the market share. They would be getting their brand out. You know, sometimes people come in to look at one car and decide to go with another car. So I think it's a mistake. But again, this is part of the tough week that I'm talking about. This, you know, we really have had a tough week. So our rest in peace, Chevy Bolt in Europe. Which brings me to another interesting milestone. Tesla has crossed 300,000 car made. I know I have a picture of Model S. They actually all together, Model S, Model X, Roadster, and the Model 3. Now, no one was really, I mean, it's impossible to track because they actually report their numbers quarterly. But the reason this news came out is because this was part of the, I guess, the note or memo that the Tesla board had, because right now they, you know, I think they're just about to vote to offer that new 10-year deal to Elon Musk to, you know, where he can, you know, if he reaches all the milestones in the next 10 years, he can become the richest man in the world. His previous deal was structured very similarly, and I guess he met like 9 out of 10 those milestones, which is huge achievement. And I think that's one of the reasons that they mentioned is that they have just made 300th Tesla, which I guess was one of the milestones, or there was another reason why they mentioned it, but they have confirmed it. So happy 300,000. I was going to get you a cake, but I don't have that many candles. And even if I did, I would probably spend the money on reserving the Roadster if I had that kind of money to buy 300,000 candles for my cake. When he mentioned about swapping over Model S to Model 3 info, he was talking about the software and controls. For instance, the 3 features that are behind that are already in the S, says Ari. Okay, maybe I'm still not understanding. So the features that work better in a Model S as a 1.0 feature, they're made by Mobileye. And Mobileye is done with Tesla. So they can't really put that technology in. They can only put their own 2.5 technology, which they have. What I was just saying is that, you know, in order to compare 1.0 Autopilot to 2.5 Autopilot, you kind of have to compare that for both cars. Like you can't compare 1.0 Autopilot on Model S and a 2.5 Autopilot on Model 3 because you know there are different challenges with it. It's just a different car. But nevertheless, I still believe there are some shortcomings that the 2.5 has that doesn't have that 1.0 still does have, including seeing the cars in lanes that are close to yours. S and 3 probably have different parts, which is true. Components and wiring, says Ari, and require different controls and settings. That is correct. Edward in the chat room says we don't like Bob Lutz. I believe Lutz, he was a former Ford CEO, right? And he was rolling killing the EVs. Okay, there you go. I think that's a GM thing then. And then trying to switch gears to being an EV supporter. Oh yeah, so we are talking about the GM. Yeah, it's kind of weird, right? The GM killed the first one of the attempts of electric cars, and now they're trying to kill it in Europe. I mean, they're not trying to kill electric cars, but they're not helping, right? Their own electric car. Commentator says, I think the Bolt so far came closer to being a mass market car than the Model 3. The current Model 3 is nearly double the price. Well, the price is very similar, especially once the Model 3 is going to start producing the $35,000 version. But as we know, Model 3 is already outselling Chevy Bolt. Even if you look at the numbers in January, they just outsold them right away. Kugarpo says how quickly we forget the BP oil spill disaster in the Gulf of Mexico, as well as the other oil spills like Exxon Valdez in Alaska and the dozens of others since then. I don't think we forget. One of my t-shirts says never forget, and it has a gas pump in there. No, I don't think people forget. I was actually just arguing about this with my dad. He argued that, you know, you have to have oil in the world because that's how the world goes around right now, which is true. And with oil mining and transferring, you know, and refining, you will have accidents, right? And you kind of have to expect there will be oil spills because our entire planet right now lives on oil. And he has a point. My point was like, well, if you spill this oil, then help clean it up, and don't help by just being sued and having to do it. Help the people who lost their jobs because of you, right? Help the environment that has a bunch of fish and birds die. Right, donate money to the you know, animal organizations that, you know, either clean up those animals or breed them and release them back in the wild since you killed all of them, and, you know, help those fishermen and other businesses that depended on fishing in the water you polluted without having to be taken to court. Help them out. My problem is not so much oil spills. Oil spills, I agree with my dad, right? They will happen because, you know, you can execute an industry completely 100% perfectly, especially as big one as oil. But you can't take responsibility and do things and make things right when you have an accident, right? So that was my point. But no, I have not forgotten about it, and I don't think a lot of people either, Coop. I really don't. Say goodbye to your incentives in the United States, says Agent RRR. Yes, we are making a card. Goodbye incentives. It's kind of funny. Well, not funny, right? But by the time the affordable Model 3 will come around, there will be no incentives to actually use to buy it. And a lot of people say, well, that's kind of unfair, right? I mean, a lot of these people wanted to buy the Model 3 because they can't afford the Model S or Model S. So it's kind of unfair that the people who are going to be getting incentives, they are getting incentives right now to buy the current expensive version Model 3 will get all of them, and people who really needed them and were waiting for the $35,000 version won't get that. Well, yes, it sucks. I agree with it, and I feel their pain. But at the same time, don't forget, people who are buying the more expensive version of Model 3 more likely paid more into our taxes. So if there's a tax break, they should probably get the first dip. So overall, in a fairness rule, I think that does seem a little fair, even though it does suck that people who, you know, really need that money are not going to get it. Thought you said the Roadster wasn't your style, says Anton. Yeah, it's not my style, but if I had a different, if I have a choice between 300,000 cake candles and a Roadster, I think I'm gonna go with the Roadster. You know, it's not my style, but still, it's an amazing car. If I could have it for free, I would have it. obviously. I know I wasn't pushing the referral code on you guys, and therefore I won't be getting a free one like a lot of YouTubers who have been pushing it on their audiences, but I'm okay with that. I only pushed up on you guys when I think you will also benefit, which actually, let me push something on you really quick if you don't mind, because you will benefit from this. And I mentioned it in the beginning of the story, but just in case if you're joining me, or you just like seeing this footage, because I know I do, because this was a really cool moment for me when I got to be behind the wheel of the Tesla semi-truck. And again, if you're joining us, you can have a chance to win an experience of driving the Tesla semi-truck around their racetrack in Hawthorne, California, and you don't have to buy a Tesla. All you have to do is actually sign up with their newsletter, and through what I hope is my referral link, which you can find in the description of this video. If you click on that link, sign up with their newsletter, which is probably good anyway. They do have pretty cool newsletters when they announce their features and so forth. You can unsubscribe later if you actually end up not liking it. But by submitting that email address to them, you enter yourself and me, we together enter into this drawing, which they do every week. And if we win, you have this awesome experience. I'll have this awesome experience, and most importantly, we'll be able to do a video about it and bring it to the rest of this community. So if you haven't yet, guys, please go ahead, click on the link in the description of this video and sign up for their newsletter. I really appreciate that. What else? Let me go back into the description in the chat room. Okay, answer that. Oh yeah, so Agent Ara says night will be 3,500. Will that be starting in 6 months or starting right now? So the way the incentives here is going to be phased out in the United States is it's $7,500 right now. Obviously, you have to pay that much in taxes in order to get it back, because it's actually your money, not other taxpayers' money that you're getting back. And then after that, you will be, once the manufacturer sells its 200,000th car, in the United States, that quarter you're still okay. Now I forgot. I think the next quarter you might be okay, but most likely the next, I'm gonna have to look it up, or you guys can definitely do it in the chat room. So whether you get a 1 quarter freebie or not, the next quarter the incentive is cut in half, then it's cut in half again, and then it gets completely phased out. So $7,500 divided by half, that is 37.50, I believe, right? If my math is correct. No, it's not. Yeah, it is 37.50. Anyway, so that's how it's gonna work. I'm a little bit, I forgot whether or not you get a freebie quarter or not. I don't think so. Gabriel says 2 quarters plus 2 quarters. Okay, so then that's what it is. 2 quarters plus 2 quarters of phase out, right? So current quarter, then the next quarter is fine, then the next quarter is half, and the next quarter is half. Yes, 37.50. All right, my math brain is still all right. European education right there. All right, for those of you who are looking up, just confirm one more time that it's current quarter, then the next quarter is a freebie, then cut in half, then cut in half further, and then we phase out, right? Okay, yeah, so there you go. Ari confirms. Okay, so I remember it correctly. Okay, good. My old man's brain is not too fried. Yeah, so this is a matter of fact. When will Tesla sell its 200,000th car? A lot of people believe that they're trying to sell cars more in Europe and China and Canada now, right? That was a surprising announcement that they're going to be selling a Model 3 in Canada. Obviously to make money, because there are a bunch of people there willing to pay for a higher priced subtop Model 3. But also because that won't count against the United States sales, and therefore they're able to maybe get to the Q3, right? So if they make it to Q3, like they sell their 200th car, which would be everybody's hoping that they're going to sell their 200,000th car in the first week of a third quarter. So we get the entire pretty much quarter at the full incentive, then a fourth quarter. So it's only next year when it's going to just be cut in half, which is still pretty good, right? We're talking about almost $4,000, so that's pretty good. Let's see. I think I missed one more story here. We talked about this. We talked about this. We talked about. Oh yeah. So this is an interesting story, and I think this is. I I think this is the last one. No, okay, so there are 2 more stories. Okay, actually, I kind of like these 2 stories, guys, if you stick around for this one. One is about Southern California Edison. It's a utility company that provides electricity there. And since that story broke, there's a New Jersey utility company, I think it's called PG. I forget the name, but it's a New Jersey utility companies. They made a deal with BMW, which is very similar to what Nissan Leaf did last year when they were trying to get rid of their first generation Nissan Leaf cars. BMW is doing the same thing with their i3s. Basically, besides the federal tax incentive and a $2,500 California incentive, you're going to be able to get $10,000 more off. That's BMW going to give it to you if you're a customer of Southern California Edison or the New Jersey utility company. And then the utility company itself will give you $450 on top of that. So if you're in California and if you got your calculators out and ready, that is a savings of $20,450, which pretty much cuts the cost of the BMW i3 in half. Now, that's only if you want to buy a BMW i3, but at the same time, to be honest with you, if you can get one for 20 grand and probably lease, no, that's one thing. You cannot lease it, right? So if you can get the BMW i3 for 20 grand, you know, despite the look and despite the crappy range, it's actually not a bad deal. So yeah, that's why I kind of thought that was kind of, yes, PSE&G, Ari, you're correct. That's the New Jersey utility company. We have PG&E here, so it always confuses me. PSE&G in New Jersey. Now, don't forget, New Jersey does not give you a rebate. So California gives you a $2,500 rebate. New Jersey doesn't give you a rebate, but it does something better. You don't have to pay a tax when you're buying an electric car. So if you buy a more expensive car, that you actually win money, right? Because here's just a flat rate. But in this case, it's kind of ends up being a little bit the same. Let's see. Yeah, I think for a $40,000 car, the rebate would be approximately the same what you would get in California. So you're also getting a really good deal in New Jersey as well, if you want this car. Eddie B correctly says in the chat room, says they are, BMW that is, trying to move their worthless i3s inventory. Those cars are going to be worthless in 2 years. Yeah, I mean, you have to understand, they have sold, I think, what, 100,000 of them, right? So they do have a following. I mean, BMW has a following. Some people will buy anything that has a BMW on it, right? Regardless how crappy it is. So they have a following. They do sell these cars. People who love BMWs and they live in the cities or in Europe where they really do want a tiny little car when they don't need a larger range because they just maybe go to work and back, and it's just they live in a small city where if you do have to go further, there are, you know, public transportation, and you have another car in a family. A lot of parents actually choose to buy this to their kids so they know they can't drive too far. So that's a feature, you know. So, you know, so there are people who are actually, this car does make sense to them. So for $20,000, you know, I mean, I know plus tax and everything, that's not a bad deal for a BMW that also will save you money on gas. But yes, as far as the electric car universe and technology is concerned, it is a crappy car. And again, I hate the way it looks. You know, the weird thing is, you know, the same designer who designed this car also designed the i8. Right, I think i8 is really beautiful, and I just don't understand how it's the same designer. And then he moved on to be the Faraday Future designer, by the way, and he recently quit. Like a lot of talent in there, right? One of the biggest value of Faraday Future was their talent, and a lot of them have quit. Let's see, BMW i3 is a butt ugly compliance car, says Gabriel Pop. I agree. But a lot of people will not. A lot of people get really offended by this, by the way. Eddie B says they're trying to move their... Okay, I already read that, but I wouldn't even mind reading it one more time. But by the way, guys, can we just back up a little bit? Don't forget, I will still root for BMW i3. As ugly and technologically not very advanced it is than any other gas car, right? Let's not fight too much between ourselves, right? These cars need to be made. Yes, they're ugly. Yes, the range is pathetic, but I'd rather have them try and maybe build on top of their technology and maybe build some sort of a electric car customer base than not do it at all. So again, I definitely will take Tesla and many other cars over the BMW i3 as far as electric car is concerned, but I would still root for the BMW i3 over any other gas car. And I hope BMW is listening and hopefully working very hard on bringing a real car to the market. And as I did a story earlier, this week and early in this show, is that looks like they're getting serious about it because they're trying to secure a 10-year deal to have access to lithium and cobalt, which is necessary to make electric car batteries, at least right now. Mr. Carico says BMW i3 is a nice small car for small family, a Sunday car. There you go. Seriously, the Leaf is much uglier. To me, it's a toss. I'm assuming you're talking about the first generation Leaf. I think it's a toss-up for me. BMW New says Eternity Not. By the way, I've never seen you comment. Welcome to the chat. Thank you for participating. He or she says BMW knew what they did with a small battery pack. True. It is 30 plus pack battery. Alexander C says i3 doesn't have center beams, so you have to unbuckle your seat belt to let rear seat passengers out. Really? All right, I didn't know that. If it's true, that's kind of weird. Nigel says old Leaf ugly. Oh wait, I need to prove that comment. Old Leaf ugly. New Leaf is in person much better. I agree. New Leaf is like better in every almost single way than the old Leaf, especially because of the better range. And obviously, I think it's just a better looking car. Is this an ugly contest? Is asking Ben. It's so weird. Everybody, you guys use the word ugly. I have to approve the comment in the chat room. Come on, YouTube. Is this an ugly contest? I think it is. And I think that we got the finalists right here. But again, for 20 grand, right? It's not so ugly for 20 grand. Edward says, I think what these automotive companies need to understand is that we are quite comfortable seeing them go into the history bin if that's how the new will be allowed to come out. Oh, I see what you mean. Basically, let's root for the ones that actually are better, and therefore the ones that are not putting as much effort actually end up end up history. What an ugly practice, YouTube says Alan, as I have to approve his comment again. Touché, my friend, touché. All right, let's move on to another story. I think this might be one of the last ones, but I'm sure we'll continue talking about other things. Oh, we're across 2 hour mark here. All right, since my voice is still here, we can keep going for a little bit more. Let me know if you guys want to go for maybe another 10 or 15 minutes. But meanwhile, Dyson is in the news. Okay, so Dyson is a company that is a sort of a cutting edge, expensive, cool looking many times appliances like vacuum cleaners and dryers and so forth. Their CEO is a huge fan of electric car technology. Apparently he mentioned recently that he always wanted to make an electric car. He's been kind of working in the stealth mode for 10 years, thinking about it, that he wants the first Dyson electric car has a solid state battery. Ari says your voice is fine. Sing. Well, I can definitely not sing even if my voice is fine, but I can feel it. I can feel it going. So they, and I welcome we all should welcome any newcomer to the scene. Obviously, Dyson has enough money. They just committed to $2.6 billion for this project, which is more than enough. They obviously understand the production concept. They obviously understand how to work with suppliers, how to bring products to production, how to sell them, how to service them. Obviously on a smaller scale, as far as, vacuum cleaners are a little different than cars, but nevertheless, it's not a brand new company that needs to learn everything, establish relationships, be able to figure out how to reach the customers and everything. They obviously have their business relationships and their executives have relationships in other industries. So, they're set to succeed if they really want to. But I think, and so now they're saying they're actually not going to go with the solid state batteries at first. They're going to go with lithium ion batteries, which kind of makes sense, right? The Fisker also backed out of the very similar proposition because it does look like we're still about 5 years away from solid state batteries actually being practical at the very least, depending on the progress. So, and also Dyson is saying that they would like to produce 3 different electric cars before they get to the solid state batteries in a few years. The first one would have a small production run, which makes sense, going to be more expensive. They did not elaborate about any really details, but they kind of obviously taking the page out of the Tesla's playbook. It's probably going to be an expensive car that's going to be produced, 1 to 5,000 scale. That makes sense. But, my problem with this is I was, I've used Dyson dryers all over the place, but I only noticed that when I was drying my hands at the restaurant that had this particular one, and they also have another one that I don't have a picture of anymore. But the problem with these are like the worst dryers ever. And the reason I'm bringing it up is because I hope Dyson does a better job designing a car than they design hand dryers. So this one is you have to stick your hand in there. I don't know if you've ever used it. And that blue little edges over there, they're blowing the air on your hands, but really just in like a very flat sort of a plane, right? And the problem is, as you know, when you're drying your hands, they will dry faster when you do this, right? Because you're kind of spreading the water and increasing the surface at which it can dry. Well, when you stick the damn hands into this one, you can't do this, so it takes longer. And then on top of that, there's all of this stuff that's being blown from other people's, fingers and hands that are on the edges. It's dirty, so every time you might accidentally touch it, because it really blows the air really like at the high speed, you have to go back and rewash your hands. So there's a horrible design. The other one, again, I don't have the picture anymore. It's where it's a dryer that kind of has 2 sides that blowing it out of it and do different directions, and not even to the sides. It literally blowing it onto your pants. So you have to dry it like this, right? So you can't do this because you have to make sure that it's blowing into each hand, and then on top of that, it all ends up on your pants and your shoes. Anyway, I'm just saying that I hope Dyson's design team for their dryers not only gets fired, but hopefully doesn't get to work on the actual car that they're designing. Let's see. They're very secretive. Is there any picture out there, asks Ben. No, there are no pictures at all for what Dyson is planning about their electric car. As a matter of fact, I don't think we know how far along they are. I'm sure they have drawings at the very least. I don't know if they've started working on the actual design, but no, there are none. I mean, I'm sure they'll leak sooner or later, but nope. Dyson creates a lot of weapons for UK, says Gabrielle. Are you sure you're thinking about the same Dyson? Maybe it's a different company under the same name. Sometimes they, Dyson car would not need batteries due to the long extension cord. That's a good point, right? I wouldn't be surprised if they actually end up doing that. I'm not an avid BMW fan, says Deviant Technologist, and it needs more range, but is the i3 really that ugly? Looks a lot better than just about any Volvo or GM car to me. Well, I think Volvo actually stepped it up. Well, let me go back to the picture of, what are we talking about? BMW i3, right? Oh, now I lost that picture. Let me see if I can find it now. Oh, there you go. Yeah, so, yes, I personally, again, this is a matter of taste. I'm also a designer, so I can actually tell you why it's ugly. Like, for example, whenever you look at the car, you also want to imagine that car in motion, right? And this is why it's important to have consistent lines in the car. As a matter of fact, it's a BMW that had come up and voiced this concept in their cars, saying they want their cars to look like they're moving even when they're standing still. And the way you achieve that is by having the long lines that go through your car body, right? That what kind of makes the car look like it's in motion. Now, if you look at this BMW, that line is broken twice, 3 times, right? The hood, it's a little higher than the window, then it goes down, then it goes even more down, and it goes up, right? So just even from a design perspective and some design concepts, it's poorly designed car because it doesn't look like it's meant to move, right? Let's see. Oh, Kat is in the chat room. That's right. Wow, welcome, Kat, to my channel. I know you started a channel of your own, so welcome to the family. I enjoyed your vlog. She says, I like the Dyson Airblade. It works perfectly for me. Some people are just impatient. I don't know what Airblade is. This is like a hair dryer for yourself. Now, Dyson does have really interesting good products, right? For example, the air blower, right? It's really modern looking and it works. But I'm just saying, the specific commercial hand dryers, I think a lot of people hate it, and I do as well. But Kat, if you can clarify what you're talking about, and thanks for to my girlfriend Lachelle for noticing Kat here, because I'm all over the place and didn't see Kat. But anyway, welcome. Let's see. Ari says, yes, but Alex, would Dyson cars not suck or would they blow? Oh, wow. You guys are just giving me ideas for my t-shirts all over the place. I appreciate it. Touche. Touche. Mo, welcome to the chat. I've never seen you here before, so thank you for participating. Alex, you have to move your hands up and down when you do that, but yeah, I wish that opening was bigger. Yeah, you're talking about this technological wonder. Yeah, no, I understand I need to move them up and down, but I would dry them faster if I was to be able to actually spread the undried water over the rest of my hands. You know, it's just how that works, right? Let's see, I'm scrolling. Let's see if Kat replied. She says, why spend money on an electric car where the range is, excuse my friends, shitty and garbage looking? Just saying. Well, okay, so if we're talking about this car, right? The range is only shitty if you need the range. But again, some people who buy this car for their kids and they don't want the range. They don't want the kid to go, you know, all the way to the city. They just want to make sure that the kid stays around in the area. That actually is not a bad car. Somebody who only uses this car to commute to work and then uses the family car for the rest of the weekend or go out in during evening time, that makes sense, right? So as far as range is concerned, again, I think it's pathetic. I think that range is pathetic, but it does work for some people. So if this car that's originally $40,000 can be sold for half of that price and you don't have to spend money on gas or maintenance, well, that makes sense to some people. Again, I just hate the way it looks, so I wouldn't buy it because of the look. But if you're okay with it, then you can. And don't forget, the cars with non-shitty range really cost a lot of money right now, right? It's not until Model 3 and really Chevy Bolt that's also up there, about $40,000. And some people just can't afford it. But if you can pick this one up for 20 grand, you get yourself in an electric car. But I hear you, Kat. I definitely hear you. Physics is still bringing up my girlfriend's appearance on this channel, where she made fun of me once she got a hold of my camera while I wasn't looking. I thought that was pretty cool. You can see that on my Instagram. If you go and follow me on Instagram under E4Electric, there's a segment there where my outtake where my girlfriend took over the camera. It was kind of funny, I have to say that. Coral Irvin in the chat room says, thanks, Alex. Now my dad wants to go down to San Diego BMW and buy an i3 while he waits for his Model 3. Okay, he won't be able to do that, so don't worry. You have to be a customer of Southern California Edison. You actually have to bring your bill with your name on it to them in order for you to get that car. Same thing with New Jersey. Let's see. I'm just kind of trying to catch up with the chat room. Curious Sand says, I think the BMW i3 looks okay and it drives well. See, there you go. Trunk is almost non-existent and access to back seat is not that easy with people in front seat. Range is sufficient for city use. There you go. This is why they will continue selling them. Let's see. Kat says, Dyson Airblade hand dryer. Okay, it works well because all you have to do is move your hand in and out of the dryer slowly. It's faster than other dryers. I'm assuming, Kat, you're talking about actually this particular one, which I absolutely hate. Okay, so the air blows faster, but my experience as far as drying that versus like a regular dryer you see at the crappy gas station, because I'm able to spread the water that hasn't been dried all over my hands that are already dried, and the surface of the water to air increases, I'm able to dry my hands much faster than other dryers. This one, I do have to go back and forth like this, and it's only taking care of a light, like small strip of my hands. And on top of that, again, every time you touch the edge, which is kind of easy, you're done. Your hands are dirty again, because imagine how many different little, dirty little particles from other hands that this hairdryer now has after, God knows how often they get clean, right? But anyway, this is what I'm saying, right? If you like it, that's why they sell it. I just hope they don't make cars like this, because I wouldn't buy a car that has a user experience that is challenging for some like myself, right? Kat says, I disagree. We're titled to our own opinion and experience. Haha, thank you. Sorry. Yeah, Kat, this is what it is all about, right? This is why I also, like you and I agree on a BMW i3, right? We think it's crap. But some people, as you can see in the chat room, says that it works for them. I don't like this dryer. You love this dryer. This is what this community is about. We can agree to disagree. Nevertheless, I welcome Dyson to the family if they want to take a shot at making this world better, advancing the technology and making electric cars, despite how much I hate their hand dryers. So, but this is absolutely. I will be thinking of you next time I'm drying my hands at one of those, and see if maybe with what you said I enjoy it a little bit more. I can dry my hands faster, but we'll see. Sean says, I test drove an i3. It was fun to drive and it has a good get up and go. The range is plenty to get for the suburbs to town, for work, for running errands and so forth. For longer trips or weekends, I always have a Jeep. So there you go. There's another person who kind of does exactly what I believe a lot of people use this car for, which is, short daily trips. And it is still a BMW, so, safety, and it is an electric car that picks up real fast. They should put paper towels next to the Dyson Airblade and solve the crisis, says Physics. I would love that. See, Kat could use the dryer and I could use the paper towels, and everybody loves it, right? Alan says Dyson better still have wiper blades, not air blades. Huh, interesting. Why doesn't the cars have the air dryer? Well, because of the probably snow, right? Anyway, just thinking out loud, but I never thought about this idea. Anton says, personally, I live the thin. Did you mean? Okay, he deleted it. As soon as I was reading your comment, you deleted it. I'm assuming you meant you love, but okay. Let's see. I hate all air dryers, says Saga Photo D. See, Kat, he disagrees with both of us, no matter which air dryer we. But I prefer paper towels. I have to say, air dryers just take longer. Paper towels, I can walk with them, right, and then throw them in the garbage by the time I get back to, let's say, my desk at my work. Are you going for a record? Asking Ben. Yes, I know. I've been. Yeah, this is my record, right? It's been 2 hours and 20 minutes. Yes, I believe I am, but I probably should let you guys go. Don't you guys want to move on with your day? Have we not discussed anything so far? Alan says Model 3 has an air blade instead of vents. Well, there you go. Dyson will be all over it. Kat says we will turn this channel into all about dryers. Well, hey, maybe we can co-host a channel like that, Kat, and combine our channels with a hair and air dryer channel. We love it here, says Ben. So do I. Cook says, I hate it when the Dyson hand dryer dryers just commercial buildings touch my hands. I know, that's what I'm saying. This is too funny, says Fabio, who joined us for electric car conversation and we ended up talking about how to dry our hands faster. Dryers are hot, says Alan. I hope you mean it temperature-wise. Otherwise, it would be a little bit disturbing, I have to say. Though I don't judge. We don't judge here. Ari says, yes, Alex, I prefer paper towels, especially if the door does not open. Exactly, yes. This is why I prefer the paper towels as well. So he says, if the door does not open out, then I need a towel to grab the door handle with as a glove. I do that all the time. I'm a germaphobe, right? Like, so even though I know it's good to be contacted with germs because your body kind of your immune system becomes better and you get sick hard, it's more difficult for you to get sick. But yeah, in the bathroom, I'm thinking like, I don't want to touch anything, definitely not the door, because you know how many people you've seen, they go do your business and then they go out without, washing their hands. So yeah, I always like in the bathrooms where there are hair dryers, I always like wish like if I don't wear long sleeve, the long sleeves I can kind of still like pull it up like this, right, and grab the door handle. I sometimes, and call me crazy, but sometimes I wait for somebody to walk into the bathroom so I don't have to touch the door handle. You know, I'm totally on the same page with you on this one. Absolutely. Yes, we'll have the cleanest hands in the world, says Ben. New subject of all of your interviews. I really like the one with Nikki. You should collaborate with her more often, says Coral. Yes, you know what? Actually, next week, I'm going to try to redo some of the setup that I have here in my home studio, and I will be able to have live guests. I know you guys seen a couple of attempts that I had for live guests. It's going to be much better, with better quality, and I am hoping to have more guests on the show. Maybe every Saturday I will have a guest, and definitely Nikki is on my short list to do that. It's funny, I just talked to her 3 days ago about that, and she was all for it. I absolutely love talking to her. And anybody, like yesterday I was doing an interview with a guy from the New Delhi TV who does, you know, car show, the biggest a show in India about cars called Car and Bike Show, and it was a pleasure talking to him as well. You know, anybody who has such great experience and knowledge with cars, and particularly electric cars, has always been such great pleasure to talk to, especially in front of the camera, so we can share that conversation with everybody else, you know. Okay, Ari, this will be the last air dryer comment I'm going to read in regards to the hot dryer thing and not being about temperature. Remember, you're in California, much like Easy Village in the NYC. Okay, I'm having trouble reading at this point. Let's see. Oh man, says Physics, and I thought I was the only one in the bathrooms being slightly slow, waiting for someone to leave and open the door for me when no paper towels are available. No, man, I'm telling you, germs. I hate them. I'm afraid of them. All right, guys, this has been a tough week for us. A lot of, you know, not such a great news or whatever, but some good news. And of course, just like I said, the Tesla Roadster was sort of the highlight for me, because it reminded me how far we came, how awesome this car is, how awesome the Tesla cars are going to be based on the technology they have for them. And go, there you go. And of course, the technology, how awesome it's going to be for the rest of the electric car world once they catch up. So I am going to finish with this picture. Let's see. All right, guys, my voice is really just about to go, seriously. And I think we've discussed everything we can about electric cars and the hand dryers. Thank you, Kat, for this conversation was sponsored by Kat, my friend. So don't forget to click on the thumbs up when you leave this broadcast. I'm going to just remind you what it looks like. It's one of these oh, do I even have it anymore? Yeah, it's one of these little icons that you can click. This video does very well after that. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please go ahead and subscribe. It's definitely, you will be updated on all kinds of electric cars, everything that's going on in the world of electric cars, but also you're going to become a part of this amazing community. We gather here every day at 11 a.m. Pacific time. Only on Sundays we go this long. Usually I just kind of update all of you guys with what's going on in the world of electric cars. I read the comment of the day and I just get right, you know, right out of here. So of course, if you want to contribute through Patreon, the description of this video has that as well. All right, guys, I'm gonna go drink some hot tea. I hope you have a great the rest of your Sunday. I will see you, of course, tomorrow for our Monday video. So have a great evening, afternoon, wherever you're in the world. Other than that, see you and have and remember to stay charged.